Good on our end. I'm going to go to this hearing. Technically, this is a public roundtable of the Committee of the Whole of the Council of the District of Columbia. I'm Phil Mendelson, Chairman of the Council and Chair of the Committee of the Whole. Today is Tuesday, November 30th, 2021. The time is 1:11 in the afternoon, and this hearing is being conducted virtually. It is being broadcast live via the Zoom video conference broadcast platform. It is live on the Council website, www.dccouncil.us. I believe it's live on Council Channel 13. And it is available on the Office of Cable Television website, and it is available on the Chairman's website, which is www.chairmanmendelson.com/live. The subject of this hearing, I said it was an oversight hearing or roundtable, is implementation of DCRA's third-party inspection platform, or Tertius. In Title 6 of Subtitle G, I misspoke, in Title 6, Subtitle G of the Fiscal Year 2021 Budget Support Act of 2020, the Department of Consumer Regulatory Affairs was authorized to establish an online platform to which individuals or entities may hire a third-party inspector and to charge fees for the use of the platform. At the beginning of this October, the committee began receiving correspondence from third-party inspectors and representatives of developers outlining grave concerns with the rollout of the platform DCRA selected, known as Tertius. This roundtable is being held to collect testimony from third-party inspectors and developers and to ask questions of DCRA about the implementation of this new software platform. So in short, this is about a new initiative by the Department of Consumer and Regulatory Affairs, or DCRA, concerning third-party inspections that is on a computer software platform about which we've been receiving some complaints and concerns. And this hearing or roundtable is an opportunity to air out those concerns and to understand why DCRA believes that what it is doing and the timetable in which it is doing is working. The record in this matter will close at 5 p.m. on Tuesday, December 7th. That's 2 weeks from today. The record will close. I'm going to turn to colleagues. Councilmember Pinto, I believe you were here first. If you have an opening statement.
Thank you very much, Chairman Mendelson, and thank you for holding this roundtable today. I'm really thrilled that we're having this discussion. Because we know that a well-functioning DCRA is illustrative of a well-functioning government, and we know what that means about the inverse of that sentence. But I am very pleased that DCRA is establishing an online platform for hiring third-party inspectors, which intends to streamline the processes available. But the rollout of this program has had significant impacts on the financial success of inspectors for commercial and multifamily development projects in particular. And this needs to be carefully done, and any changes need to be carefully managed to avoid unintended consequences. And I worry that maybe we shouldn't be requiring this before we can ensure that it's functioning properly. So looking forward to hearing today from the public and government witnesses on how we can improve this system most expeditiously. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Nadeau, if you have an opening statement.
Thank you, Chairman. The Department of Consumer and Regulatory Affairs is responsible for the plan, review, inspection, and approval of all construction projects in the district. Under existing law, DCRA can partially delegate that responsibility to third-party inspectors. DCRA is still, however, according to its own policies, required to ensure that all plans and construction work meet the requirements of the DC Construction Code. To carry out that mission, DCRA says that it monitors the performance of improved inspection agencies so that the agencies who fail to meet program requirements are disciplined, suspended, or removed from the program. DCRA has failed and continues to fail to do so. And rather than meaningfully regulate the quality of work done by its third-party inspectors, it has decided to implement Tertius, An online marketplace that imposes heavy fees, delays payment to contractors, and does nothing to protect the public from the consequences of poor inspections. In my time on the council, I have repeatedly attempted to give DCRA the resources it needs to do its job well. I have drafted and passed legislation funding more inspectors, introduced bills to increase DCRA fines for shoddy repairs and construction, and remained an active partner in overseeing DCRA's important work. Still, for years, my constituents have come to me saying that because of a construction defect missed by a poor inspection, they've been saddled with dangerous, uninhabitable, and now valueless homes. And although those constituents have brought their concerns to DCRA time and again, DCRA continues to allow inspectors who do poor work to remain in their third-party program. One inspection agency, for instance, has been allowed to remain in the program despite DCRA knowing that the agency missed hundreds of code violations in recent inspections. One property inspected by that firm, a newly constructed 9-unit condo building, had an inactive sprinkler system. It had screened dryer vents that allowed lint to back up, creating a perpetual fire hazard. Parts of the building were made of cardboard. Still, that property was inspected by the firm and improved by DCRA. And even after an oversight inspection from DCRA in identifying these issues, the firm's only response was to draft an abatement letter claiming that all the code violations were fixed. Spoiler alert, they were not. And another inspector had to be brought in. Another inspection by that firm missed 34 code violations in a single property, and yet another missed 63. However, because of DCRA inaction, that firm continues and will continue to do inspections on new homes for district families. Where does that leave those families? In many cases, it leaves them without a remedy. If you hit your home insurance policy caps, or if your insurance refuses to cover something, you're likely to find yourself on your own, watching bills pile up as you spend months away from home, in a hotel if you're lucky, couch surfing, or unhoused if you're not. The stakes are high, and DCRA has not just failed to act, but has actively made it more difficult to secure quality inspectors. The rollout of the Tertius platform in particular has been littered with pitfalls for both homeowners and inspectors. On October 13th, DCRA informed inspectors with no notice they would have to immediately stop using the platform they were already using and start using Tertius. The platform continues to ask for inspectors' personal social security numbers despite their businesses having federal tax ID numbers. And the platform continues to fail to pay out inspectors in a timely manner. Some inspectors have still not been paid. That does not even speak to the structural problems with the platform. It's supposed to get customers the lowest price possible by making the bidding process for inspectors more competitive. But this incentivizes consumers, who often know little about the inspection process, to choose the cheapest bid, regardless of whether the rate they pay is funding the correct number of site visits necessary to complete inspections that take multiple trips. For example, if an inspector has to go out to a property 9 times to properly conduct an inspection for a whole home renovation, if each visit would normally cost $250, and if someone puts in a bid at $600 for the whole project, how could a consumer know that $250 is just not going to pay for the appropriate number of site visits? This process incentivizes inspectors to cut corners. And I swear I'm winding down, Chairman, but additionally, the platform does not allow consumers to submit a bid for a project for which there's not an associated open permit with DCRA. If a homeowner has doubts about something a roofer or a bathroom renovator did, and if she wants an inspection to make sure that work was up to code, she can't do that on Tertius. What's more, Tertius charges a 10% processing fee that serves no function other than creating a new revenue stream for DCRA. When asked about this processing fee, Director Shrappa's only response was to say that change is something we have to deal with as a community, as individuals, and as a society. It's clear, though, that it's not residents, but DCRA that needs to change. Until and unless it does, this council's oversight role is critical. Today, DCRA must account for itself. Either it can explain why it's failed to protect residents and protect them going forward. Either it can explain why Tertius is failing and fix it going forward, or the council will have to continue to do DCRA's fixing for it. The choice is theirs, Mr. Chairman. I thank you for calling this roundtable, and I look forward to hearing from our witnesses today.
Thank you, Councilmember Nato. So we have 21 witnesses who signed up. I'm going to call them in groups of 10. I'm going to call the first 10. They will be let in, and then we will proceed. Evan Lukadakis, who's with DC Association of Realtors. Liz DeBarros, who is the interim chief executive officer of the DC Building Industry Association. Brian Eklund, who is vice president of construction at Hines. Michelle Hagens, who's with Fort Lincoln Development. Enrique Lorenco, who's with Lorenco Consultants. Caitlin Peter, who's Vice President of Government Affairs at the Apartment Office Building Association. Blaine Carter, who is Project Executive with PGP Development. Stephen Adamchek, who is Group Manager at ECS Mid-Atlantic LLC. Jen Arichetti, who is with Landis Construction. Janelle Anderson, who's with Amar Group LLC. Folks will be on a 4-minute clock. And if you are in gallery view, which I highly recommend, you should see the clock in the top row. I'm not sure I appreciate it when I tell a witness if they were a minute, 2 minutes over their testimony, their time, and they look completely surprised as if they couldn't look at a clock. So please be mindful of the clock. Mr. Lukadakis, you are first. And this is not a good start. I don't think he's here. So Liz DeBarros, why don't you proceed?
Great. Good afternoon, Chairman Mendelson and members of the committee. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, and members of the committee of the whole and staff. My name is Liz DeBarros, and I'm the interim chief executive officer of the District of Columbia Building Industry Association. I'm also a longtime resident of Ward 7. DCBIA is the leading voice of real estate development in the District of Columbia. We appreciate the chairman acting quickly to announce this roundtable on the implementation of Tertius, DCRA's new exclusive platform for hiring and paying third-party inspectors. DCRA is one of the largest agencies affecting economic development in the district, and our members interact with the agency on a regular basis. Our members, with their breadth and depth of experience with DCRA, have made it clear that Tertius, as it currently is constructed, is simply unworkable for commercial multifamily development. The intensity of concern is evidenced by the numerous members from whom you will hear later today, including third-party inspectors and other industry professionals. They will testify to the unique nature of commercial multifamily development and how Tertius's current one-size-fits-all approach is and will impact their project with serious unintended consequences for economic development in the district. Before the members testify, I want to provide background for context. The FY 2021 budget authorized DCRA to establish an exclusive online platform for hiring third-party inspectors and to charge a fee. This provision was proposed by the mayor and approved by the council. More than a year later, our members learned that DCRA would be exercising this authority by launching Tertius and charging a 10% fee. In October of this year, we learned that Tertius would be required for all third-party inspections beginning November 1. Before that date, DCRA briefly shut down its platform, but then quickly reversed course. As it stands now, Tertius is required for all third-party inspections for new projects, and DCRA collects a 10% fee from each transaction deducted from the payment to the inspector. We appreciate the administration, Director Chopra, and the chairman of this committee for receiving our feedback. We have 3 overarching requests for the administration and DCRA, and if necessary, this committee, to ensure that Tertius is implemented in a way that avoids needless harm for district business and development. First, DCRA should pause implementation of Tertius to ensure that it is adapted appropriately to the commercial multifamily industry before it becomes required. Second, regardless of when and whether Tertius is required for commercial family development, DCRA should allow for a payment off the platform. Finally, to be consistent with the express terms of the authorizing legislation, DCRA should not mandate Tertius as the exclusive platform for special inspection and third-party plan review. My colleagues are here today, will elaborate on these points, and I'm happy to discuss them in more detail during your questions. Our DCBIA board president, Michelle Hagen, she couldn't be here to testify live, but she submitted testimony for the record and her comments speak to the developer's perspective on the fundamental issue at play here, which is Tertius's value proposition. So we share the desire for DCRA's desire for improved customer service, transparency, and accountability. And we do not disagree that Tertius may have a role to play. As currently designed, however, Tertius has serious implications for economic development. It should be paused and it should be retooled with input from stakeholders before further implementation. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. DeBarros.
Thank you.
Brian Eklund.
Good afternoon, Chairman Mendelson, members and staff of the Committee of the Whole. I work for Hines, a real estate developer that has done projects in Washington, D.C. since 1983, and we are currently doing a volume in the district at hundreds of millions of dollars worth of work annually in the commercial and multifamily sectors primarily. Many of these projects have consistently included a large component of CBE and first source implementation, and many of those projects have exceeded the district goals for CBE and first source. My remarks are not directed today at number one, the submission of drawings for permit through Tertius, nor number two, the administration of DCRA third-party inspections through Tertius as a replacement to AMO, but rather these remarks are directed to the method of payment between the owner and client, or owner/client, and the respective inspection agent. Hines hires its third-party inspectors through an RFP process involving competition among 3 or more qualified inspection agencies. Special inspections are normally included in the overall scope of the RFP. Once a successful bidder is chosen, it enters into a professional services agreement with Hines as a testing agent. This agreement is not based on individual inspections, but the overall inspection process for a not to exceed fee. Based on the size of the project, the inspection is usually a full-time assignment on the project site. Oftentimes, inspectors are performing multiple inspections on any given day, including both required DCRA third-party inspections, special inspections, and supplementary inspections. These inspector rates vary by hourly and/or daily rates. The testing agent then bills monthly and is normally paid the end of the following month. Because it is paid under a professional services agreement, the testing agent is only paid for services correctly rendered as approved by Hines. Unfortunately, Tertius does not align with these business practices. The reasons given for inserting DCRA between the owner and the testing agent in the payment process have included, number one, to increase competition for fees. However, this is not necessary for us since we already compete these services. Number two, to change from an analog to digital system. Our system is already internet-based from end to end and a service we already provide for ourselves. Number three, greater efficiency. This has not been demonstrated to us. We operate in a very competitive climate already, and greater efficiency should be demonstrated first before requiring our use. And four, to assure the testing agent of payment. We already use a large pool of repeat testing agents. They work with us knowing we make timely payment a priority. Furthermore, the very recent experience we've heard is that testing agencies are receiving 13% less than the rates they have published. This is a 10% surcharge and 3% ACH fee. This is noting that a typical testing agency's profit may be in the 5% range. Therefore, testing agencies are not even currently covering their costs with respect to current Tertius implementation. The added cost of the developer for use of Tertius services include, one, we pay the same cost for a building permit as others who do not use third-party services. The cost of DCRA performed inspections is included in the permit, yet we are not burdening DCRA with those inspections, therefore saving them money. Because I'm going to try to get to the end here. Overall, this appears to be a 10 to 13% increase in our costs without providing any increase in service or efficiency.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Eklund. And we have your statement. Michelle Higgins, I believe Ms. DeBarros said that she's not here.
Right, she submitted. Thank you.
So we'll go to Enrique Lorenco.
Good afternoon, Chairman Mendelson, Councilmember Nadeau, and Councilmember. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, and Councilmember Pinto. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you my experiences with Tertius. My name is Enrique Lorenco, and I'm sitting before this committee not only as a small business owner, but as a DC native. I've been fortunate enough to witness its transformation firsthand, and I have been an integral part of its growth. My firm, Lorenco Consultants, which has operated in DC for more than 21 years, provides third-party inspections, third-party plans review, and code consulting services. I would like to state for the record that I wholeheartedly support positive change. However, change for the sake of change or misguided change, I cannot support. What has been happening at DCRA over the past 4 years has been very alarming. The paradigm shift that has taken place is not only misguided, but I believe it to be inappropriate. I would like to refer the committee to DCRA's mission statement. The mission of the Department of Consumer Regulatory Affairs is to protect the health, safety, economic interests, and quality of life of residents, businesses, and visitors in the District of Columbia. The agency has shifted its focus from protection of citizens to revenue generation for the administration. The reality is that the wide breadth of Tertius and the lack of experience of those charged with its development have led to the boondoggle we are here to discuss. There are 4 principal issues with the software. First, the software in its current form is no more than a revenue generator. Second, in its current form, the software is designed with simple and small residential projects in mind that fail to account for the complexity and dynamic nature of large-scale development projects. Third, the software's infancy and lack of testing has created untenable workloads and subsequent major delays for citizens, clients, and stakeholders. Fourth, the accounting and financial component of Tertius were not designed with even the most basic accounting principles in mind and have created an enormous hurdle for any small or large business to navigate. DCRA would have you believe that this software is about transparency and accountability, and that it will facilitate processes around inspections and reporting. The director continually suggests that customers should adapt and that the technology will improve client experiences. The definition of technology is a science or knowledge put into practical use to solve problems or invent useful tools. Currently, as it exists today, Tertius is not robust enough to be a useful tool, nor is it solving for any problems. I want to be completely transparent. The software could be a fantastic tool for everyone. However, the bottom line is that Tertius was not ready to be initiated in October when it was suddenly forced upon everyone, and it is not ready for widespread use today. As always, I'm a servant of this great city, and I look for you for relief from the current situation in an honest and transparent attempt to fix what has been broken. I will not hesitate to make myself available for any questions, counsel, or assistance that I may be able to provide moving forward, as I think we all share a common goal in having Tertius and DCRA succeed at its mission. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today.
Thank you, Mr. Lorenco. Caitlin Peter.
Good afternoon, Chairman Henderson, Councilman Nadeau, and Councilman Pinto. My name is Caitlin Peter, and I am the Vice President of Government Affairs for the Apartment and Office Building Association of Metropolitan Washington. Established in 1976 as a local affiliate of the National Apartment Association, AOBA is a nonprofit member association which represents commercial and multifamily property owners and operators in the greater Washington, D.C. area. As a point of scale, our membership operates approximately 90,000 residential rental units in the district. Today, I'll discuss Tertius. Still can't pronounce it correctly. I'd like to note that our members are still learning how this system works. My testimony is going to outline some practical considerations and questions. I think our colleagues on this call have done a very good job at outlining some overall concerns for the multifamily and commercial communities. So we would like to stand by those comments as well. one of the biggest concerns that we have is, to our knowledge, we did not see a formal rollout or training on this system. There also appears, from what we know, to be a lack of a tutorial on how the system operates if our members wanted to basically learn after the fact. For something of this magnitude, anything of this magnitude, and whether it's Tertius or another similar system, we do think this is really, really critical. I think when you're putting something out there where the industries are expected to basically adapt, there have to be tutorials or at least some sort of guidance documents that give the public more information. Along these lines, AOBA does not feel, however, that the system in its current form is really well suited for larger multifamily buildings from what we can see. At first blush, it does seem geared more towards smaller projects, and in many instances, for a tenant build out or a smaller job, where the tenant owner doesn't necessarily have the expertise to do it themselves. From our understanding, for those types of projects, for smaller ones, the new system has caused delays for some of our members and the third-party inspectors who are still working through the system. In particular, there's no way in the system to see where exactly your proposal is. Has the company received the request? Where in the queue? And we think some sort of tracking mechanism would be helpful. Currently, our members still have to go through the old way, basically contacting companies themselves to tell them to send something in the new online system, which seems to be a bit duplicative, that you have to tell the company that you have to press something into the online system. Our members have definitely asked about the extra fees. Why are we having extra fees to do something that apparently a lot of our members were doing before relatively effectively? And now they're still paying the permit fees on top of this. So there's definitely that transparency question of where are the fees going. Another administrative element for how our members use third-party inspectors, the payment processing of this is going to be complicated. Our members have automated third-party billing systems that handle our invoices. So we haven't seen how this would interface with that. For that to work, we'd need a bill to be generated and sent, whereas here it appears to only allow for payment on the website. So this is another kind of practical but very important technical consideration. We have gotten, again, from a transparency standpoint, questions about who exactly are we paying. It appears to be paying DC, but in reality, we have to contract with a third-party inspection company. So it's confusing how we document this for accounting purposes. Also, if we're paying DC, are they technically contracting the third-party inspection company? So in essence, our contract is with DC. We haven't out yet as an association. So if you have any answers to that, that would help. Next, if our contract is with DC, how would we terminate it with the third-party inspection company if we wish? Again, another practical consideration, but an important one. And also, if there was an issue with the inspection, something passed, but then proved done incorrectly, who exactly has the liability? You guys have figured this out. If there's any guidance surrounding that, that could be incredibly helpful. It does seem overall that this system is much more geared towards homeowners and not corporations or general contractors. The reason why our members use third-party inspections is because we don't necessarily have the resources adequate to DC inspectors. So I think logically we would have liked to have seen an increase in or improvement in DC's overall inspection process. So we don't really understand why this was thought to be the priority versus amping up DC's inspection. So that's it from me.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Peter. We do not have a copy of your statement. It would be helpful to have it.
I will send it.
Thank you. Blaine Carter.
Good afternoon, Chairman Middleton, members and staff of the Committee of the Whole. And thank you for allowing me to testify. My name is Blaine Carter, and I've been involved in the commercial real estate industry for 40 years, 20 with Louis Dreyfus Property Group, PGP Development, wherein I was involved in Station Place, a 3-phase, 1.5 million square foot project, in Capitol Crossing, a 5-building, 2.4 million square foot project. And we used third-party plan review and inspections in both, and they were critical to the timing and the success of those projects. Prior to Louis Dreyfus, I was at JBG for 17 years. And the last 4 I spent at the Convention Center with Convention Center Associates and helped Alan Liu implement the third-party inspection and plan review process for the Convention Center. Alan went on to use it at the National Stadium and for the DC public schools. And I would suggest that the third-party program was very critical to the success that Alan was able to experience on all 3 of these projects. I'm here today to discuss my concerns with Tertius, and there are really 2 or 3. While Tertius may benefit a small homeowner and a small, simple project, it really does not benefit the large commercial real estate developer and a large complex project as it is set up. Most importantly, I don't need Tertius to give me transparency or assist me in competitively acquiring the services of third-party inspectors. Unlike Hines, we separate our special inspections and our building inspections with different providers. So that transparency does nothing for PGP development. Secondly, I'm confused as to the benefit of the payment process and it flowing through DCRA's Tertius program. It complicates it. It doesn't simplify it for a large project. Capital Crossing project spanned over 5 years of inspections on 3 different permits. So it was a complicated process. Sometimes payments are made from a number of funding sources for a developer. Tertius doesn't accommodate that or the billing periods. We have complicated draws that go in every month or 2 to fund the projects. Tertius doesn't appear to be set up for this. And so I'm unclear as to why DCRA is inserting itself into the contract agreement, private contract agreement between a third-party service provider and us. Finally, this Tertius therefore is creating an impediment to a system that has been working. Finally, the rollout of Tertius has caused all sorts of impediments and problems with the large commercial state developer. So in conclusion, Tertius as a setup doesn't bring any value to the large commercial real estate developer or owner. The third-party program was established to facilitate and expedite third-party plans review and third-party inspections, but Tertius doesn't accomplish that. While the program may benefit small users, it's burdening the real estate developers and owners. In terms of cost, the permit fees cover both plans review and inspections. So permits also charge a technology fee. So I'm unclear about the additional burden of the 10% to 13% charged through Tertius. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. And we don't have a copy of your statement. If you would provide that, please.
Absolutely, I will.
That would be very helpful. Steve Adamczyk.
Thank you, Chairman. My name is Steve Adamczyk. I'm a principal engineer for ECS Mid-Atlantic. I run ECS Mid-Atlantic's materials testing department, which performs special inspection services in DC. I'd like to thank the council for giving me a moment to share my perspective on the Tertius program as it currently stands and what it means for my company and my industry. ECS Mid-Atlantic is one of, if not the largest companies that perform special inspections in the DC metropolitan area. ECS Mid-Atlantic does not perform third-party inspections program code compliance inspections in DC. This is a distinction I believe is important for you to understand as I move forward with my statement. For companies like mine who are not active Tertius users, we remain in the dark about a lot of the details of the Tertius program. We understand that our colleagues in the TPIP world have been working with this program for several weeks, but The only documentation I have is the Fiscal Year Budget Act of 2021, the Tertius Manual, and the FAQs on DCRA's website. DC's Fiscal Year Budget Act of 2021 provided DCRA with the authority to develop this program and authorized that DCRA charge a fee for the use of the program. I understand that DCRA has chosen to apply that fee by requiring all invoices to be processed through the system and taking a fee as a percentage of the invoice values. I believe one could reasonably assume that the law may not provide all of the logistics, but between the Tertius user manual and the FAQs, the logistical details would be covered. So the main point of my statement is that there's a tremendous amount of logistical information that is lacking official documentation, which a business like mine needs to understand before initiating new platform. So some examples of things that are not currently in writing include, how much is the fee? So I have heard and people are saying that the value is 10%, and that's more than the profit margin of my work. And this is not documented anywhere. Is the fee added to the invoice or removed from the third-party agency's payment? I've heard that this will be removed from my fee. When my profits are less than 10%, I'm going to be making no money. When does the fee start for special inspections projects? How do I know this platform is secure? Who is responsible in the event I never received payment, but the developers has documentation indicating that they've paid it? How can I ensure that the owner, and only the owner for a project, is soliciting the contract for a given permit? Is my proprietary information secured from FOIA requests? And who do I call when something goes wrong? I believe the intent of this program is good. I understand how it will help small developers who may not have experience with DC's permitting and inspections requirements. And I understand the district is trying to use the program to enforce 100% compliance with the inspection aspect of the building code. I fully support this initiative. But like any business, I want to ensure that I can acquire work, contractually perform work in accordance with my insurance coverage, get paid for my services, and make a reasonable profit. As it currently stands, this program has a lot of unknowns and has me worrying about those objectives. So I'm here to ask for help gaining more clarity and for time for the industry to adjust before this program is mandated into special inspections. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Adamczyk. Jen Ericetti. Looking to see if that person is here. There's a Jen here with Landis Construction. I'm going to keep moving. Janelle Anderson.
Yes, that's me. Chairman, Council Member Pinto and Council Member Nadeau and staff, thank you for this roundtable discussion. I have been serving DC residents and providing affordable and great design work for the past 30 years. Amar Group LLC is an architecture, engineering, and certified third-party inspection agency located in Ward 4. We are part of the Main Street, the Parks Main Street, in which I serve on the board of directors. I only have 3 minutes, so I'll jump into my grave concerns as a businesswoman and homeowner in the District of Columbia. The original legislation does not state that a 10% fee plus a 3% servicing fee is to be imposed on third-party inspection agencies. DC Act 23407, subtitle G, section 6061 reads, the department may establish an online platform that may, at the director's discretion, serve as the exclusive mechanism by which an individual or entity may hire a third-party inspector to perform an inspection authorized by this section. The department may charge a fee for the use of the online platform by an individual or entity and by the third-party inspectors. Please note that the 25 companies affected by this legislation are companies and not individuals. Per this legislation, it seems as if it's targeting inspectors and not inspection companies. The online platform require a social security number and not a tax ID. Amar Group is a business that uses an EIN to transact business. Is this a hiring tool for DCRA? Are you planning to eliminate companies to hire our inspectors? The order gives broad discretion to DCRA. The director abused his discretion by acting in bad faith, rushing this online platform to the public and charging outrageous fees on the backs of small businesses that conducted inspections. Mind you, during the height of the pandemic, when DCRA did not have the staff to conduct inspections. Instead of thanking us for our service, we are disrespected. Chairman Mendelson and council members, we understand that you are civil servants and you believe in transparency. Council Mendelson, you questioned DGS, Medicaid contracts. You literally signed a letter to pause the DC lottery contract. So my question to you, Council Chairman, is why give such broad discretion to a director of an agency regarding my tax dollars? I was told by a DCRA employee to increase my inspection fees to cover the loss incurred by usage fees. It is not my desire to place an additional burden on homeowners or fellow DC citizens. Because most inspections are conducted by third party, an alternative could be allocated to alternative could be to allocate a portion of the permit fees to pay for the online platform. You see, the cost of the inspection is part of the permit fee, but most people choose to go third party. The majority of inspections are conducted by third party. The director's rollout with indiscriminate fees is anti-business. Do you realize what 13% of my profit margin is? DSLBD should be up in arms. The response that the director gives us in response to questions as to why and why now is that no one likes change. What does that mean? Amar has evolved as a business over the past 30 years. We are constantly pivoting and evolving, but change for the sake of change is irresponsible. I again want all of you, chairman and council members and your staff for this platform I thank you to just listen to me, and I thank you for listening to my concerns and hopefully solve this problem. I thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. So we will have a round of questions from the council members, and then we'll move to the next group of witnesses. Just a moment. We're going to try a 7-minute round. Mr. Lorenko, I wanted you to elaborate on this statement from your testimony. Tertius is able to handle very basic projects with minimal permits in a single address, albeit through a cumbersome and illogical path. The workflow from either side, client or provider, is constrained by design parameters that inherently limit the functionality of the software and make it nearly impossible to perform basic tasks, such as rescheduling or editing the scope of an inspection. There are many changes, some of which would require a substantial redesign of the software, necessary to expand the functionality to accommodate large dynamic projects. Could you elaborate on that?
Thank you, Chairman Mendelson. Yes, I'd be happy to. The software as it's currently designed only allows a single user to create a job and interface with the software. A large project is not run by a single individual. It's run by an organization with a collaborative effort necessary to successfully execute it. Under the current Tertius software, it's not, you don't have that flexibility. It boils everything down to a very basic level that doesn't allow for dynamic change. Just today alone, my agency, we have an ongoing discussion group. We had 6 cancellations and 2 reschedules. That's not possible under the new system. You have to cancel the report, create a new report. It just generates more work that didn't exist in the old system. Regarding the design of the system designed for single family homes or a small project, when you have a small small number of permits and you're trying to manage that, that's okay. A large project, for example, Capitol Crossing, has over 70 permits. The system is not set up to manage 70 permits. You would almost be forced to create 70 accounts and stay on top of 70 accounts. It's not effective, it's not efficient. It can be, there's opportunity for that to take place, but it's not there yet. And there doesn't seem to be a movement in that direction either.
What did you mean? You said that if you have to reschedule, you have to cancel the report and create a new report. How hard is that?
It's as difficult as the first set of tasks. It's not that it's that difficult, it's that the system is clunky. And so that when you cancel it, you have to enter in a fee for the cancellation, even though it's not really a cancellation. Then once you've entered the fee for the cancellation and you go to reschedule, you have to essentially start over, go to the permit, select the permit, the date, the time, the inspector, and reschedule it. There's another component to the system that mandates a geo-tracking of the inspector, where the inspector has to check in and check out of the job. Well, with cancellations, it doesn't really take that into effect. And we get emails all the time saying that the inspector has missed their check-in. I anticipate that DCRA is using this to create a grading system or a tracking system for the inspection agencies and the individual inspectors. I understand the intent of the tracking system as well. But again, it doesn't allow for the flexibility that you need in a large-scale project. Project like the Wharf. There are essentially 7 or 8 ongoing huge projects at the same time. These concurrent projects have many inspections taking place at the same time. The only way to be efficient, and the reason that the third-party program is able to effectively or efficiently handle these projects, is because our inspectors are able to bounce from job to.
I may have lost you. Mr. Lorenko? Now you're muted.
I apologize for that. My internet is a little wonky. I don't know how much you caught of that.
So you said, I missed something, but so you said that when you cancel, you have to enter a fee. Does that mean you have to pay twice?
So in my testimony, I talk about how they're rapidly changing the software. Every day they come out with changes. To the credit of the director and the department and all of the people charged with trying to make the software work, they are listening to us and they are trying to make changes on the fly. 2 weeks ago, you had to charge a fee for a cancellation, even if it was a rescheduled inspection. Currently, that's not the case. Currently, they do allow you to charge $0, but you have to enter in a $0 amount. From an accounting standpoint, this is a disaster. It's generating line items, billing line items, even at $0, that have to be tracked and reconciled at the end of the month. Again, right now, we're only talking about a 6-week snapshot in the software. So there aren't that many data points to go back and check. If you were to do this for an entire year, there would be tens of thousands of data points that you couldn't reconcile because the software doesn't have the capabilities to run reports in a logical way. It does allow you to run reports, but it's by date and by inspection report, not by job, not by client. Another fundamental issue with the software is that the client is the individual who put it in. If you, for example, wanted to put in a job for the city council, you would put Chairman Mendelson, and I would see the client as Chairman Mendelson, not city council. And so I would then have to deduce that it's not Chairman Mendelson who's requesting the inspection, that in fact he is operating as an agent of city council as a whole. It makes the billing and the tracking
so
essentially
the
impossible.
point here, The point here is not that the intent is bad or the objective that the program is attempting to achieve is problematic. It's that it's not ready.
That would be my take. I think that there are certain aspects of it that are, as everyone said, the aspects regarding the billing and the adding of the 10% fee, I don't think that that falls in the mission statement of the agency. But I think in terms of the software, the intent is good. I think that the idea of permit tracking software or a reporting software is overdue, long overdue. I just think that it's not ready. It needs work. Work that I'm willing to help and that I have been offering to assist with now for months.
Thank you, and I'm over my time. Let me turn to my colleagues. Councilmember Pinto. Councilmember Pinto. Let me turn to Councilmember Nadeau. Are you here? Do you have questions?
I am here. I don't have questions. I feel like this testimony pretty much said it all. So I look forward to continuing to hear from folks.
Thank you. So I was done with my questions, but I'm going to ask this. So at this point, the system is mandatory. Mr. Lorenko, Mr. Carter, trying to remember those of you who do this work, Mr. Adamczyk, you have no choice but to have to use this system. Am I correct?
That is correct. For any new projects, this is the mandatory system for third-party inspections.
I would just say that that's for the code compliance inspections, so mechanical and electrical and plumbing systems. We've been told that it's coming to the special inspections world, so inspecting the structure like the concrete and rebar and things like that. It's not mandatory for special inspections yet, but it is mandatory for the code compliance side.
All right.
So that's my understanding as well for the MEP, but not yet special inspections.
But special inspections you expect it will apply to?
Yeah, we've been told that it will apply to us in the near future, but we don't know what that date is.
The date that has been discussed and floated by DCRA is December 1st.
Oh, that would be tomorrow.
That's correct.
All right. Let me just try one more time. Councilmember Pinto, are you here? I'm going to excuse all of you. Thank you for your testimony. A couple of you did not have a copy of your statement, and if you would provide that, that would be helpful to us. Thank you. You will be excused. I think you can continue to watch, but you won't be a participant. Let me call the next 10 witnesses. Roshana Williams, who's also with Amar Group. Gary Engelbert, who's a managing partner with MCP Inspections. Neil Stablo, who's with ABC Metro Washington. Mike Yesick, who's president of ECS Capital Services. Hilary Nash, who's listed as a realtor. Kelly Knepper-Stevens, who's chief compliance officer and general counsel for True Accord Corporation. Rakna Bhatt, who's with HRGM Corporation. Ted Beckel, or Beckley, who's with FMC Associates. Erica Wadlington, who's Senior Director of Policy and Legislative Affairs at DCBIA. Joe Patrick Love, who's with AmeriCode. And Toy Bello, who's with Bello and Associates. Give a moment for everybody to get here. Miss Williams, Roshana Williams.
Hi, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yeah, there's a little feedback.
Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, I would like to thank you all for organizing this roundtable. I will be reading a statement from Ivan Suzik with Building Code Inspectors LLC. He is a master code official and also inspector. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, on September 30th, DCRA scheduled one Zoom video meeting in which I was able to participate with 43 other participants, and I heard multiple opinions. More or less, every participant had some opposition to implementing this specified software, and everybody has some negative aspect against it. Another Zoom video meeting was scheduled with Council's committee regarding COVID-19 relief on November 4th. I pointed out to the chairman, Allen, that all participants talking for 3 hours were asking for money for doing nothing during the entire pandemic, but only 25 of the third-party agencies who are actually a backbone of DCRA operation are being penalized with a 10% processing fee for working throughout the 18-month pandemic. Let me remind you that DCRA has 25 third-party code compliance inspection agencies, 44 special inspection agencies, 14 plan review agencies, and 14 elevated third-party inspection agencies. That is a total of 97 agencies. And when combined, that is a tremendous power without which DC and its DCRA department would be paralyzed. Based upon the statement by DCRA staff, third-party agencies perform 52% of the inspections on behalf of DCRA. It seems short-sighted to undermine those efforts by forcing us to charge more to the permit holders. What if residents and business owners choose to use DCRA alone to complete their inspections? Can DCRA handle performing their own inspections for all of the work in DC? Can they handle performing 10% more inspections to the standards of the public? That is doubtful and highly unlikely. We already know that they cannot handle this vital task. The backlog of resulting backlash to DCRA having to perform even a small percentage more of outstanding 48% of neglected inspections would render the process a failure by any standard of measure. In addition to that, there are over 3,200 registered architects and professional engineers who are operating business in DC and whose average earnings are most likely similar to the average earnings of 25 of us. There are many general electrical, mechanical, plumbing, and fire alarm and sprinkler contractors who are operating in District of Columbia. The number must be in the thousands. Those stakeholders also generate revenue in the pipeline along with the third-party inspection agencies, but they are not being penalized with this 10% deducted from their revenue. Besides that, 10% is not far from the net, but from the gross of earnings. Instead of being rewarded for working through the pandemic, we are simply being penalized and singled out from all the other contractors providing services on behalf of the district government. If DCRA is going to charge us if DCRA is only going to charge 25 of us, excusing all of the rest of the other agencies and contractors, as mentioned above, who are also generating a significant amount of income, that would constitute picking and choosing or singling out just 25 of us. This platform has the potential to work for coordinating the process of obtaining and recording third-party inspections performed in the district. However, the primary stakeholders, the third-party agencies, was not adequately included in the process of rollout. I'm just going to sum up here. So basically, I imagine that if you were to ask the residents and business owners of developers if they are willing to pay an additional 10% to use Tertius versus being provided the available list of agencies to contact for inspections, they will simply choose to use the existing list for free. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. And would you please provide us a copy of that statement?
Yes, I apologize. I wasn't able to read it all, but I will definitely provide the copy.
Okay, and this was a statement by whom?
Ivan Suzik. He is a master code professional for DCRA and the third-party agencies.
Okay.
And he is with Building Code Inspectors. He has his own company, Building Code Inspectors, LLC.
Yeah. All right. So I thank you in advance for providing that.
Yeah.
Engelbert?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're very quiet, so speak up.
I'm having some video problems, so I'm going to just give you my statement. My name is Gary Engelbert. I'm a managing partner of MCP Inspect. I want to give you a rundown of a recent issue that we had with one of our clients. On Thursday, November 11th, 2021, we received a request for proposal from a client. We advised the company that they would have to go now register with Tertius program and submit a request for proposal to obtain the service. We provide the link to the program in order to assist this customer. Once we received this request, our office made at least 8 attempts to submit the proposal before actually getting into the system. We contacted the client to alert them of the submission. On Friday, November the 12th, 2021, the client began a process to accept and schedule an electrical inspection. They notified our office that they were unable to process and accept the proposal and were given an error message regarding inspection. They attempted to accept through the day on Friday and again on Saturday and again on Monday morning, November the 15th, 2021. On Monday morning, after being notified by the client that they were still unable to accept, our office staff submitted to DCRA management an email, phone calls, and message within Tertius program, as well as to the DCRA KRM system to try to understand what needed to be done to correct the problems. We received no response. At 3:30 that afternoon, we were able to reach DCRA IT employees who stated they were working on the problem and that they believed they had an update and had fixed some of the bugs with the program. We later received a call stating that we should have the client try to accept their proposal again after 5:30 p.m. and notify DCRA again on Thursday or on Tuesday that this was unsuccessful. The client representative explained that during this call that this process and the lack of communication with anyone at DCRA was costing them valuable time and delaying the project inspection, which otherwise would have been completed on Friday morning of the previous week. During our company registration in this program, we are asked to provide banking information to process payments. However, when directed to the Stripe program within Tertius, it will not allow you to provide banking information without providing personal Social Security numbers. We are a registered corporation with federal EIN identification. When we spoke with DCRA representatives regarding this and asked why we were required to provide Social Security numbers and not our federally issued ID, they simply stated that they did not know why it was required. We followed up by asking if they did not want to provide banking information, would DCRA issue payments in form of paper checks? The answer again was, we don't know. Our issue is they are unresponsive with requests for assistance, and this process has been a nightmare for our clients. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Engelbert. Could you just clarify, are you the developer or is Cobra the developer?
Cobra is the developer. I am the inspection agency.
And as the inspection agency, you're entering the information or your client, the developer's entering the information?
Both. We have to enter information and the client has to enter information.
Okay. Thank you. Neil Stablo.
Good afternoon, Chairman Mendelson and members of the Committee of the Whole. My name is Neil Stablo. I'm an Executive Vice President at Donahoe Construction Company, which has been developing and building in the district since 1955. I am testifying today on behalf of the over 500 members of Associated Builders and Contractors of Metro Washington, the preeminent voice for construction in the District of Columbia. Thank you for considering our testimony. The construction industry contributes more than $7 billion to the district's economy, or nearly 5% of the district's total GDP. Construction is clearly one of the district's most important industries, and any major impact to our ability to function efficiently is certainly a major concern. ABC Metro Washington member companies have appreciated the DCRA's openness and willingness to collaborate with us to solve problems that have arisen in the recent past. This isn't the first time that we seem to have gotten caught up in issues that were really more problematic in the single family or small project arena. So we'd like to learn a little bit more about why this was implemented to large scale construction. Mr. Chairman, no other current members of the council were serving in 2002 when the council created the third-party inspection system. As you may recall, this system was created in direct response to DCRA's inability to conduct building plan reviews and inspections in a timely manner. The law was created after a year-long collaboration between the council and private industry. While not perfect, it has worked well for nearly 20 years and has proven to be far better than the previous system. I think any other major change should go through a similar collaborative effort as happened 20 years ago. Now, we understand DCRA is not proposing to go back to the old system, but our members are nonetheless extremely apprehensive about any change which transitions control of critically important inspection functions back to the DC government. As we understand it, under Tertius, DCRA will be responsible for making sure that all of the schedules and payments are made. As contractors, we have a lot of responsibility and contractual obligations to meet our scheduled deadlines. So, the potential delays associated with this system is a major concern to our members. Under the existing third-party inspection system, developers and contractors work directly with certified third-party inspection agencies. From our perspective, this system works. So again, we're just not sure why this new system is being rolled out to the large-scale commercial contractors and developers. And like many who have spoken before me, we are also concerned with the 10% fee and would like to learn more about why that's being applied and how it's being used. In short, Mr. Chairman, while ABC Metro Washington's member companies are open to working with DCRA to solve any issues with the existing system, we simply cannot go back to the time when companies were dependent on the district government to complete basic and essential building functions. We appreciate your willingness to hold today's hearing and look forward to working together with the council and DCRA to create a system that works for everyone going forward. Thank you, and I'm available for any questions the committee members may have.
Thank you, Mr. Stablo. Mike Yasek.
Yes, good afternoon, Chairman and council members. My name is Mike Yasek, and I'm the president of ECS Capital Services. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to the council today. We are a certified CBE firm in the district providing engineering consulting services, of which third-party inspections are a significant portion of our business. Our client base includes individual local builders, national developers, and international corporations with which our company has long established business relationships. Since the November 1st implementation of Tertius, I can say our primary challenge has been explaining to our clients the purpose of the platform and specifically why our company cannot perform inspections on new permits without first establishing payment methods via Tertius. As a consultant, I look at every situation through the eyes of our clients, and I can confidently say that over the past month, there's an overwhelming reluctance to simply agree to the dictated payment methods of Tertius and Stripe when our companies have long established contractual terms. I'd like to offer an example of one of our challenges. A national client of ours recently requested a proposal from our firm in accordance with the terms of our existing master service agreement, as they had received their building permit the day prior and were in need of inspections the next week. Following an explanation and presentation of Tertius to the client, they indicated it was not possible for their accounting department to simply set up an account on Tertius's payment processing system, Stripe, on such short notice and without any prior knowledge or understanding of the system. Their noted concerns included security, as well as significant logistical challenges to deviate from their established accounting practices. Our company and our client have engaged DCRA's support staff as directed by DCRA over the past few weeks but have not yet reached a level of comfort with the required payment methods to start the project. As a result, the project has currently been delayed for several weeks. From our perspective, it would benefit the industry if Tertius allowed for the business-to-business transactions to occur outside of the platform, not be a prerequisite to being approved to perform inspections on a specific permit. DCRA already has an established approval process for agencies and inspectors, and the current notice of intent process is already built into Tertius. I believe I understand the purpose of Tertius and fully support the idea of leveraging technology to improve business and, more importantly, the safety of our built environment. The platform may work well for small projects requiring 1 or 2 inspections. However, Tertius has failed to take into consideration the vast differences among how commercial and multifamily developers do business with their consultants. On one last note, I have seen DCRA's frontline staff working tirelessly to manage the tremendous influx of questions, concerns, and complaints from customers over the past several weeks. So I'd just like to take this opportunity to say thanks and acknowledge their individual efforts here. In closing, Tertius, as it has currently been rolled out, is unfit for implementation in the commercial multifamily development market. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Yasik. And we don't have a copy of your statement. If you please would provide it.
Yes, sir. I'll send that over.
Hilary Nash.
Good afternoon, Chairman Mendelson, Committee on the Whole, and staff. Thank you all for allowing us the opportunity to provide testimony. My name is Hilary Nash. I am an associate broker here in Washington, D.C. I'm also a Ward 5 constituent, and I'm a member of the D.C. Association of Realtors, better known as DCAR. DCAR and our over 3,000 members, we are a voice for real estate professionals, small housing providers, homeowners, and renters who live and work in the district. We're here today to provide comments on DCRA's new third-party inspection program, which is Tertius. From the outset, DCAR would like to underscore that Tertius has the potential to be a beneficial platform for single-family homeowners.
You just froze. Ms. Nash?
Can you?
Sometimes it helps if you turn off.
I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now, Chairman?
Yes.
I apologize.
So you were at the paragraph from the outset, DCAR would like to underscore.
That Tertius has the potential to be beneficial for single-family homeowners. The platform provides users with the ability to post bids for inspections and receive competing offers from third-party inspectors. So in theory, this process would help facilitate competitive prices and lead to cost savings for district residents. Unfortunately, a critical drawback to Tertius is this 10% process.
All right, we're losing you again.
Again, what's going on? Can you hear me?
Why don't you start the paragraph about the 10%?
Sure. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So mandating, sorry about that, Chairman. So mandating this additional 10% fee, could force an owner to pay upwards of an additional like $1,000 on top of their bill. This is a major departure from the former platform AMO, which did not charge homeowners to do business with their third-party inspector. Further, we understand that DCRA revealed at a press conference on November 9th that homeowners might be able to skip the Tertius platform and go to the website and find other agency-approved inspectors. And this may take like a much longer. This type of system creates two unequal classes of customers, if you will. Our last concern that we'd like to highlight is that DCRA now is effectively being a party to the contract between the owner and the third-party inspector. By facilitating inspections between an owner to an inspector and collecting a processing fee on top of this payment from the owner, DCRA will become party to even a third-party inspection contract in the district. And DCAR believes that this opens up a host of liability issues for DCRA. To conclude, we just want to say thank you, Chairman Mendelson and the committee and members for this opportunity to provide testimony. We look forward to working with you and to work with DCRA to help ensure that homeowners in DC are protected and provided with top tier services for lower tier transactions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nash. Kelly Knepper Stevens, I'm not sure she's here. Rakna Bhatt. Ms. Bhatt with HRGM.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Sorry about that. Good afternoon, Chairman Mendelson and fellow council members Pinto and Nadeau. My name is Rachna Bhatt. I'm the director of HRGM Corporation, which is a CBE construction company that's been located in Anacostia since 1979. Today, I offer my testimony on my knowledge of DCRA's Tertius system, and it's been very interesting to hear everyone's comments and feedback. When I look at what's happening here, I think what is really hard? Change is really hard. No one likes change, it's uncomfortable, it's easier to keep operating as you always have in the past because that's what's comfortable. In the case of DCRA's new Tertius system, it will definitely take time to turn a ship that has been working one way for a very long time. In the case of Tertius, it means changing many entities at once: owners, contractors, expeditors, inspectors, architects, and the government. But I also think change is brave. And I watch so many of these council hearings and I hear how often people complain about a lack of transparency at the government level. People complain about inefficiencies, complaints about not having access to services online. The move to digitize and optimize the third-party inspection system at DCRA is a brave move that encourages transparency and levels playing fields for small businesses, while creating efficiencies for large companies as well, or at least that's the intention. However, like with any new system, it takes time to work out these kinks. And what is important, I think, is how DCRA has responded to customer questions, concerns, and difficulties. When I wanted to learn about the new system, a DCRA representative spent almost an hour walking me through the system. In addition to the one-on-one opportunities, they also offered me drop-in trainings every week. They are also very open to feedback and have been meeting with third-party inspectors that we work with, listening to issues with the system and working through modifications to the programming. Any new technology is hard, but it's how the agency works with its stakeholders that matters most, and I think DCRA is working very hard. The amazing part of the system is that it's cut down on the approval time for DCRA. Instead of it taking weeks for DCRA to improve a third-party inspection, they can now do it in one day. Saving that time makes a huge difference to a construction schedule and allows projects to move more quickly. In construction, as with other things, time is money. Folks consistently ask for DCRA to modernize, and now it's happening. Everyone should be proud of the efforts being made and should give time, patience, and grace while kinks are worked out. In the long run, the new system will carry us light years ahead of where we are, increasing efficiency and providing a level playing field for all. The system is being improved as DCRA receives comments from its stakeholders. I encourage the stakeholders, especially the ones that I've listened to today, to give continuous feedback to make the system better. Constructive feedback will lead to the best system possible. Our company is excited to use the new system as we move forward with our renovation of our headquarters office. Now, this concludes my written remarks, but I do want to respond to a few comments made by others. In Councilmember Nadeau's opening statement, she talked about the history of missed inspections, which I think is a huge problem in DC and a very important one. And I do think that automizing the system will allow DCRA to catch missed inspections much quicker and in a more thorough and systematic way than what was happening before. I also think that Tertius will also be able to eventually implement a rating system that will protect residents and the city by removing poor inspectors and improving the overall system. I'm hopeful that DCRA is also meeting with DGS, OCTO, DCPL, DDOT, and the other government agencies to get their feedback as well. I really do think that DCRA is listening. I appreciate Mr. Lorenco's comments at the beginning and the efforts that his company is making to improve the system. I think it's people like that who are putting in the time and effort to work with DCRA to improve Tertius that will make all the difference here. And so I encourage everyone to continue with their comments, but to really look to the future and understand and believe that digitizing this is going to be best for DC's future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bott. I don't have a copy of your statement. If you would please provide it.
Yes.
Next is Ted Beckel.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Good afternoon. Yes.
Okay. My name is Ted Beckel. I am the Vice President of FMC. FMC is a small CBE business based in the District of Columbia. Our company was founded 14 years ago and employs about 50 employees. FMC has been an approved third-party inspection company for about 12 years now. I have worked as a third-party inspection manager for over 20 years. So I'm very familiar with the evolution of DCRA third-party inspection program and the third-party inspection programs in the Maryland and Virginia area. Today, I'm here to voice our humble opinion about the latest change, which is Tertius. First, I would like to commend Director Chopper. I have a great respect for his vision to transform DCRA. I'm here not to speak against his initiative. I'm here to alert him about two major unintended consequences that Tertius in its current form might have on the Tertius platform itself and small businesses in particular. In our opinion, the payment system in Tertius is a poison pill that would probably kill the whole good intention of the director's initiative. Interfering with complicated private business deals is not helpful or productive. DCRA will not be able to keep up with the private sector's needs to conduct business. For Tertius to work, we believe the payment system must be taken out entirely. DCRA must find another means to fund the program. Second, we genuinely believe Tertius in its current form will kill small third-party agencies. The current third-party inspection market in DC is the most open and successful marketplace in the DMV area. It helped many small businesses to succeed. It is well organized and has created a highly competitive marketplace compared with other jurisdictions in the DMV area. There are more than 20 companies on the approved list of third-party inspections, and customers can choose from a good list. As a result, the cost of third-party inspection in DC is the lowest in the DMV area. To give you an example, the fee for inspection in DC has fallen by 30%, while the average salary of inspectors has more than doubled in the last 10 years. Small third-party inspection agencies cannot afford to absorb the 10% plus fee imposed by Tertius. They have to increase their fees to participate in Tertius, even to stay alive. Larger companies may be able to absorb the fee in the short term, but will rise again on the grave of small businesses. Tertius, in its current form, will kill small businesses and will create an Amazon of third-party inspection services in DC. I don't think it is the intention of the director And since I have 7 minutes, I would like to thank, 7 seconds, I would like to thank the chairman for organizing this meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Beckel. Erica Wadlington.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, council members and staff. My name is Erica Wadlington. I am a DC resident and the Senior Director of Policy and Legislative Affairs with DCBIA. Thank you for the opportunity to testify this afternoon. I'd like to start as a big picture point for us to recall how the implementation of Tertius has occurred to date. We have long been aware that in the fiscal year 21 Budget Support Act, DCRA was authorized to establish a platform for third parties inspections and to charge a fee. But this did not manifest until earlier this fall, when our members learned that DCRA will be launching Tertius as the sole platform, not only for third-party inspections, but also for special inspections and third-party plan reviews. And at a time when DC was touting reduced business fees to support economic recovery, we learned that DCRA will be charging a 10% fee on top of each transaction. The November 1st launch date was then abruptly effectively moved up by a few weeks when the previous platform AMO was shut down. Then DCRA reversed itself, making Tertius mandatory only for new projects and deducting the 10% fee from the payment to the third-party inspector, causing these businesses to lose revenue on approved contracts in a time of economic rebuilding. This is not the right way to roll out a new program that plays a vital role in development of our city. It shows just how important it is that DCRA take a step back, consult stakeholders, and proceed with a thoughtful, careful implementation of this new system. It should be done in a way that makes sense, given how construction is actually done and consistent with DCRA's authority. First, DCRA should pause the implementation of Tertius to ensure it's adapted appropriately to commercial and multifamily industry. Tertius may well prove to be a useful tool, if you have heard, that enhances customer experience, transparency, and accountability for construction projects generally in DC. However, there are major differences in the development process between commercial multifamily projects and single-family projects. Projects depend on complex financing and business relationships and regulatory requirements that are highly sensitive to change. Second, regardless of whether Tertius is required for commercial and multifamily projects, DCRA should allow for payment off the platform. Tertius is now the sole means for paying third-party inspectors, requiring electronic payment, and requiring payment information prior to hiring an inspector. As Tertius does, this is inconsistent with the realities of commercial and multifamily development. These projects are also more likely to be publicly financed, so it adds additional costs that only dilute the district's own investment. By making payments through Tertius optional, but not required, DCRA can achieve the desired transparency and accountability while still aligning with the practical realities of the industry. It would also promote a high level of customer service by allowing multiple forms of payment. DCRA has compared Tertius to a consumer marketplace, such as a rideshare company or a short-term rental app. But DCRA's responsibilities are to protect the health and safety and economic interests to the residents, business, and visitors in the district. With Tertius, DCRA is straying far from its core responsibilities. And like if DCRA is analogous to a rideshare company, then a rideshare company is in contract with the service provider. In fact, just like a rideshare company, DCRA has taken a fee from its transaction and paying the provider the balance. But unlike these platforms, it is not providing flexibility. We understand that it is not DCRA's intent to be a party to every third-party inspection contract in DC, but this is precisely what happens now that it accepts payment for every third-party inspection. And finally, my last point, DCRA should not mandate Tertius as the exclusive platform for special inspections and third-party plan reviews. The authorizing legislation in the FY21 BSA pertains only to the hiring of third-party inspectors to perform an inspectors authorized by that section, referring to the section for third-party inspectors. It makes sense for the authorization not to apply to special inspections because these are provided exclusively by private agencies and not by DCRA. Further, special inspections and third-party plan reviews are authorized by a totally different section in the DC Code. DCRA should limit Tertius to third-party inspections consistent with the law passed by the council. And thank you for the opportunity to testify. I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Ms. Wadlington. So Patrick Love.
Good afternoon, Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Councilmember Nadeau and Councilmember Pinto. I would like to start off by saying I appreciate what everyone has done in putting together their statements today. And I had put together a statement also, but it would seem to be somewhat redundant at this point to read my statement, which the chairman does have. But I will provide a portion of that statement with some other comments. According to DCRA staff, third-party agencies perform 52% of the inspections on behalf of DCRA. This amount appears to represent the actual number of permits issued. It does not represent the amount of work or actual number of inspections required to complete the closeout of these projects. The platform does have the potential to work for the coordinating process of obtaining and recording third-party inspections for residential projects. However, the primary stakeholder, the third-party agencies, were not adequately included in the process or rollout. Scout already provides a significant amount of data collection and reporting for free on the status of projects currently under inspections. So anything that anyone would need to know, they could go on to Scout for free and find out exactly what is happening on all of those projects. When I ask my customers if they would like to receive a list of 25 third-party inspection agencies to obtain prices from, they would like to have the list rather than paying an extra 10% for Tertius or a marketplace online to do the same task. One of the benefits that I see to being able to have the customers contact directly the third-party inspection agencies are that it gives them some idea of how that third-party agency will perform for them if they were to hire them. With this process, you are picking a group of people that you don't know and asking them for something in writing that you don't understand. And you're going to, most homeowners or people who are not familiar with the actual process, who are the people that they're trying to pull into the process now, those people don't understand what the actual real cost should be and might find themselves in a bind as a result of picking the lowest bidder. Tertius is not ready for prime time. The platform is still under development. As it was mentioned earlier, we were told that it would take effect on November the 1st, and on October the 6th, we were told that AMO was going to be taken offline and we were all mandated to begin using Tertius on October the 8th. So we were forced out of a platform that we had finally been able to use onto this new platform. Tertius technical support is in Europe. I don't know why we could not find someone to develop this platform in DC from any of the universities, any of the students, or any of the people in our local area who are capable of putting together a platform that in all actuality is not that complicated. Tertius, we are required to add our social security numbers and date of birth to the application rather than our federal IDs or our DC business license number. That needs to change. The fee is excessive for the service that it provides. I don't know where $2 million a year is going to go, but unless it's going back directly into the third-party program or as a credit to the developers and permit holders who have chosen to go third-party due to the time constraints and the need for speed and coordination. Is DCRA charging an additional 10% or deducting 10% from the TPIAs or both? Since we were advised by DCRA staff to simply add 10% to our rates to cover the additional. The payment of invoices per inspection is too cumbersome for projects requiring more than 20 inspections. Tertius interferes with our billing arrangements with our customers expecting a monthly invoice. The billing system limits the choices of rates we charge for different services, for example, re-inspections, overtime, and holidays. And we have no contractual arrangement with DCRA. Who exactly is the collection agency when bills don't get paid? We have no, what is the payment schedule from DCRA to the TPIAs? How will the information gathered on our inspections be used to improve the TPIA program? And what is the big rush to implement the program now? My concern is this big rush is being influenced by the December the 15th awards ceremony for DCRA for their improvements.
Ms. Love,
And
you're
what-
over your time.
I'm sorry.
Minute, almost 2 minutes over your time.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wasn't even looking. I apologize, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is Toy Bello here? I have his statement, but I don't see him. Then that's going to conclude the testimony from these witnesses. I think I just have one question, and that's for you, Ms. Love. You included in your statement, the billing system limits the choices of rates we charge for different services, such as re-inspections, overtime, and holidays. Could you elaborate?
Once you put in your rate for what you plan to charge for those inspections, when you go back in to bill again, it charges the same rate that you set up initially. There's no flexibility to edit that rate for the type of inspection that you are performing that I've been able to use. And if I might add, they have been modifying and changing this platform for the last month and a half since October when we started having this conversation. I don't believe that this program should be charging us money for something that is not complete.
And you don't know the answer to whether the 10% is coming off the bill or whether it's being added to the bill?
According to the information that we received from DCRA when it was set up, we were going to, for example, bill $300 for an inspection, and the system would charge $330, adding that 10% to the invoice for the customer. Once that invoice was paid, it came back to us. After the $30 was deducted for DCRA, we would get our $300. But the way that it reads, when you enter the invoice into the system, you put in $300 for your invoice, and the system deducts 10% at that point, and it informs you that you will be receiving $270. And in that conversation, during our meeting with DCRA staff, initially, they advised us to just raise our rates 10% to cover that additional cost. That's an additional 10% increase in what everyone is paying for their inspections versus, I don't even know how to explain it, but it's either they're deducting it from us or they're increasing it and adding a surcharge to the permit holder.
You explained it. I would that if you raise your fee to cover the 10%, then that actually increases the 10% fee. To use your example, the fee goes from $30 to $33. Councilmember Nadeau, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I do. I felt like the characterization that Ms. Love gave, not ready for prime time, was sort of, I was thinking that earlier in this panel as someone else was testifying. I had the opportunity to use Tertius last week, which I wasn't excited about, but was a good exercise for me as a homeowner. By the way, in the past year and a half, I've done like small projects and big projects in my house, and I've had 3 projects and 3 different systems I've had to use as a homeowner. So first, it was pretty easy to pull a simple electrical postcard permit. Second thing I had to do to close that out there was a new system in place, and I had to actually get an expediter to help me with it because I couldn't figure out how to do it on my own, which, you know, I feel like I'm a fairly capable person. And then last week, to close something out, had to use Tertius to get the third-party inspector that I already had a relationship with to bid on inspecting this permit. And then I had to accept the bid, and now they have to come by and do it, which is, you know, it's good. And one good thing that I really liked about the system, they can't close out the permit unless the geolocator says that they're there. That's good as someone who lives in a house that has some fraudulent inspections done. I appreciate that. And as someone who's served constituents who've been in the same situation, I appreciate that. But everything else, just not ready for prime time. I think that's a good way to describe it. I also really, Ms. Love, you just really had a bunch of zingers for me here. Asking people you don't know for a proposal on something you don't understand really sums it up for me. When you're in Tertius and you're trying to do your project, you see this list of inspectors, alphabetical. I mean, you know, if you know who you're looking for, fine. But if you don't, I mean, how do you decide who to ask and how is it better? I mean, I found it kind of overwhelming. And certainly I have the benefit, you know, benefit in quotes, living in a house that has a ton of issues with it, of knowing more perhaps than the average consumer about what I'm looking for. But, you know, the idea of needing the repeat inspections, for example, is something that might not occur to someone, you know, as they're going through this process. I wanted to ask Ms. Bott, if you're still with us by phone, if you can unmute, I'd have, just wanted to ask you.
*6, I believe, to unmute.
How many, yeah, okay, I'll if she unmutes, I'll ask my question. Mr. Bekele, you had said, you know, this isn't about change. You had, you know, made the point that people just don't like change. But what I'm hearing is people don't like chaos. They don't like to be surprised by a new technology being dumped on them. I mean, were you consulted on this before it was rolled out? Because it seems like nobody else was.
Well, am I unmuted? Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. We were consulted maybe a week before it was rolled out, and actually I was interviewed a couple of times by I think the people who are actually designing the Tertius system. Okay. And to my surprise, we found it very complicated, even for us who are used to all the terminologies of third-party inspections. So in that whole conversation, though, what did not come up is the 10% fee. The 10% fee never came up. The payment system never came up, you know? And that's why I focused on our business side. We can have a whole load program on how complicated and how chaotic Tertius is right now. We are willing to help, but not right now. Like you said, it's not right. I mean, it's confusion going on right now in the whole system.
Well, Ms. Bott said something about how the DCRA folks were willing to do an hour-long training with her on the phone. It's like, are they doing that for everybody? And if so, how long is it going to take for everybody to get trained? And why does it take an hour to learn the system?
DCRA is trying right now. They just started yesterday to actually train us in a more an hour in the morning and an hour in the afternoon for the companies. And Ms. Maida Colon is trying her best really to go through the system, but there are a lot of questions that she cannot answer.
Yeah.
So that's where we are right now.
I see Ms. Love had something to add to that.
Actually, one of my items that I wanted to wrap this up or close this up, my statement on, was that I watched the November 9th. I want to say he gave the director gave a presentation, and along with a number of things that he said, one thing that stuck out to me as being troubling is his characterization, his broad blanket characterization of people that work in the system on our side. He was describing problems that homeowners were having where they were using permit expediters that were charging them excessive fees and talking about it as a cottage industry that he was concerned about. While there are always going to be bad actors in this world, in every industry, in every department, I've been working at DCRA since 2004, getting permits, doing inspections, helping with certificates of occupancy, and coordinating projects for people coming to the area. And I've never been a cheater at all. So I'm highly offended that third parties and people like us are being maligned by the director for the work that we do on behalf of the district to make the district a better place to work and make them the world-class city that they're always trying to become. So
It seems to me, I'm sorry, Chairman, I know I'm over. I see Ms. Wadling had one thing to add, and I just wanted to respond if it's okay to Ms. Love. I mean, it seems to me that, and I mentioned this in my opening statement, DCRA needs to focus on actually going after the bad actors in the third-party inspection system rather than setting up some new tech, right? New technology can be good. Technology can solve a lot of problems. It cannot solve corruption and it cannot solve incompetence. And sometimes it makes it worse. And that's what I'm worried about. Ms. Wadlington.
Thank you, Councilmember Nadeau, and appreciate your comments. What I just wanted to add was that I think what you were hearing from a lot of like the witnesses here and the previous panel is that, you know, the agency is making adjustments on, like I heard, on the fly, and then also as the, you know, month has gone on, but it's clear indication that the system wasn't ready. It's clear indication that, you know, they're building the boat as we float. So we are asking is of the agency and of your colleagues is like to pause this right now because it's not ready yet until these items are fixed, which they can be fixable. Tertius could be a great platform, could be useful for scheduling things if you needed it as an option. It could be useful for reporting and making sure there's compliance, but pausing it until all the issues are fixed, and then also allowing payments to occur between the client and their third-party inspector. DCRA does not have to be involved in that process.
Right on. Thank you, Chairman, for allowing me some extra time. Thank you to this panel.
Sure. Let me see if Councilmember Pinto is here. I know she was trying to do two things at once. Councilmember Pinto? I'm going to assume that she is not here. I want to thank all the witnesses for your testimony, and it's been helpful. I think a couple of you, I asked if you would provide your statements. Ms. Bott, I just got yours. The statements are helpful. So thank you all. You're excused. You will go back into whatever the other room is where you can continue to watch the hearing. And I'm going to call the director now. And the director is Ernest Trappa. Director, when you're ready, and I think my staff says you have, you want to share screen?
Good afternoon, Chairman Mendelson. Yes, I will reserve that if there's a point that I need to clarify by actually showing you, should it be necessary.
Okay. So please proceed when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Chairman Mendelson, council members, and staff of the Committee of the Whole. I am Ernest Trapper, the Director of the DC Department of Consumer and Regulatory Affairs, DCRA. My testimony today is about the implementation of DCRA's third-party inspections marketplace platform known as Tertius. I appreciate this opportunity to discuss the Tertius platform with the committee and the roundtable participants. Tertius is an innovative platform that easily connects customers, residential and commercial property owners with certified and approved third-party inspectors. When I was appointed DCRA Director, I was given a mandate to leverage technology to improve their business processes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. When I was appointed DCRA Director, I was given a mandate to leverage technology to improve the business processes for both the customer and the industry. The implementation of Tertius assists in achieving that objective by presenting more convenient options for customers, bringing more transparency into a third-party inspection program, shortening the timeline to complete inspections, and providing a mobile and tablet-friendly platform to conduct and report inspection activity. The driving force behind Tertius has always been to empower customers. By using Tertius, customers will have access to more information, more choices for inspection agencies, a clearer path and greater visibility into the third-party inspection process, and a reduction in the time it takes to complete inspections. With Tertius, DCRA is able to significantly decrease review times. Inspection reports are now uploaded into Tertius, allowing DCRA to see the entire history of inspections and immediately determine what inspections have been completed and what is outstanding. I would like to take this opportunity for those who are unfamiliar with the platform to briefly explain how Tertius works. On the platform, customers enter their address to search from a list of open permits for their property. Next, customers create a job, select the inspection type from a predefined list, and choose from the list of inspection agencies that match these criteria. The platform offers the customer the option of choosing a request for proposal-based pricing or fixed cost per inspection pricing, depending on the customer's preference and needs. Prices are included in the proposals or listed upfront on the platform so that there are no surprises. Communication among all parties is made easier as Tertius facilitates direct messaging between customers, inspectors, and DCRA. Once booked and scheduled, customers stay in touch with the inspector until the job is complete via the platform. After the job is completed and if approved, customers just log back into Tertius and complete payment. As part of the rollout, DCRA spent over a year engaging with industry stakeholders regarding the third-party inspections marketplace. Many of those stakeholders have testified. In September 2020, I met with the District of Columbia Building Industry Association to provide general updates on DCRA strategic initiatives for fiscal year 21, which included an update on the marketplace for third-party inspections Tertius. During February and March of 2021, DCRA conducted interviews and discovery sessions with people, including building owners, inspection agencies, and customers to shape the requirements of a third-party inspection marketplace platform, now called Tertius. In June 2021, DCRA held a listening session with third-party agencies, during which the majority of agencies expressed frustration with the current system, a Seller Mobile Office, AMO, for reporting inspections. Some of the key features of Tertius, which are designed to address concerns expressed by third-party inspection agencies, include easy scheduling, improved communication, inspection logs, and a dashboard. In June and July 2021, a select number of inspection agencies and inspectors tested the new platform to make it more robust. The inspection agencies that were chosen for this trial phase included CAMJAP, FMC and Associates, Lorenco, and Building Code Inspectors. They were intentionally selected because they vary in size and ownership. DCRA has been strongly committed to providing training to inspection agencies and inspectors on tertiaries. In September 2021, DCRA held 5 webinars to provide training, including how the third-party inspections tracking feature works, how to set up an account, and how the platform handles scheduling, reporting, and payment for inspections. In October 2021, my staff and I met with DCBIA members to present an overview of tertiaries and to respond to their questions. The tertiaries platform was also the centerpiece of a product showcase event that DCRA held on November 9th. Given the history of engagement, there was ample time for the industry to acclimate itself to the concept of an online marketplace for third-party inspections ahead of the November 1st implementation date. In fact, prior to November 1st, DCRA asked third-party inspection agencies to set up the accounts at no cost and utilize the system for at least one real inspection transaction from beginning to end as a test, so inspection agencies understood and could demonstrate usage of the platform. I want to address the concerns that have been raised about fees. There have always been fees associated with the use of third-party inspectors, and the use of these inspectors is completely voluntary. It is the customer's choice. The fees associated with tertiaries are not charged to the customer or property owner. Rather, they are charged to the third-party inspection service provider. Inspections conducted by DCRA inspectors remain, as they have always been, free. The availability of tertiaries as an alternative to inspections performed by DCRA inspectors is in keeping with the overall trend of providing customers a choice in selecting the service provider that meets their needs, and the increased use and acceptance of online platforms where the customer can take advantage of an open marketplace, choose among multiple service providers, and be directly connected to the selected provider of their choice. Since coming online on November 1st, DCRA has offered multiple training opportunities to industry stakeholders and customers, thus affording them ample opportunity to learn about tertiaries and address their questions and or concerns. What we have seen over the course of the first 3 weeks of the platform usage is a diversity in the nature of projects. We are not just seeing residential projects, but also commercial and mixed-use projects. The availability of real data has allowed DCRA to further educate third-party inspectors on their responsibilities, such as checking in and checking out of inspection sites, and work with them in achieving compliance. This approach is helping these inspection companies reach 100% compliance while expediting their services to customers. DCRA is also continuing to receive and encourage feedback from customers, sister agencies, and inspection services. We remain open to incorporating feedback where appropriate when making updates to the platform as we embrace continual improvement. In closing, I understand that the tertiaries platform is a shift in the way third-party inspection agencies do business in the district. The tertiaries platform has created an open marketplace for customers and third-party inspectors, allow for greater transparency on previously opaque third-party inspection process, enabled better three-way communication among the customer, inspection service provider, and DCRA, the regulator, and resulted in greater efficiency since everything is being done on one centralized platform. This approach, in addition to being convenient, also creates useful and beneficial competition among third-party inspection service providers. Another point I'd like to add is that the platform creates an audit trail around scheduling, inspections, and submission of reports, thereby improving third-party oversight controls to the point where DCRA can check to see if a third-party inspector actually visited the site and for how long. This information can then be compared to see if it is consistent with similar inspections. It is my hope that my testimony has given insight into the history of this platform and the benefits it provides to property owners, inspection service providers, and the District of Columbia government overall. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you, Director Sharp. There'll be at least one 10-minute round for questions. And I guess I will start. So, Director Sharp, I was going to start with this question. What is the consumer getting for the price of this system? What is the value added for developers? But I'm not quite sure I'm going to go there. Or maybe I'll put that out and then I'll start to answer it. So in your testimony, there were a couple of things you said, Director. With Tertius, DCRA is able to significantly decrease review times. Inspection reports are now uploaded into Tertius, allowing DCRA to see the entire history of inspections and immediately determine what inspections have been completed and what is outstanding. You also said, another point I would like to add is that the platform creates an audit trail around scheduling, inspections, and submission of reports, thereby improving third-party oversight controls to the point where DCRA can check to see if a third-party inspector actually visited a site and for how long. This information can then be compared to see if it is consistent with similar inspections. Now, I read that in answer to the question that I didn't actually ask you because it does seem to me that that's a value. But we just listened to 15 witnesses. 14 of them were critical. One of them was positive, but also commented that this is a, let's see, I know DCRA is listening and wants to create a system that everyone can be proud of. I didn't read the right sentence, but basically saying that you guys are still fixing the system. It's evolving, that the kinks are getting worked out. And that seems to me to be the problem. So I haven't yet gotten to a question for you to answer, but why is it a value for the city to step into, for instance, the selection process for a big developer, or for the city to step into the payment process for a big developer? As a homeowner, I might not care. But if I have a project, I think there was testimony Capitol Crossing at 70 permits. I don't need the city to help me with competitively bidding, and I don't need the city to help me with paying my contractors. So why is that a necessary value?
Thank you for the question, Chairman, around the value proposition. There are value propositions for the homeowner, commercial property owner, or consultants who are involved in the inspection service, largely third-party inspection agencies. While the platform allows you to select the one inspection service provider that you have a long history of relationship with, it also gives you the option if you want to go out for competitive RFP pricing. So that is the flexibility that the system provides.
How does it give that option? There was testimony that when the developer, whoever is applying for the, I guess applying on Tertius, it's not completely clear to me, they kind of have to make their choice right there.
Chairman, that's a good question you asked. And this is largely consistent with some of the noise that we've been hearing. It is all about repeating stories that are not vetted and are simply false. I'll share my screen in a moment and you see how the inspection agencies are listed and you can choose who you want to. This is a fact. Allow me for a second. On my screen now is what we call a staging environment. It's just a test environment where you can see the view of a property owner, be it a homeowner or a commercial property owner. And in here, they can choose find an inspector. I'm going to choose the option at the bottom to reduce the time that it takes to load up. Here, you can see there are various inspection agencies that you can select. Agency number 5, agency number 3, agency number 11, and you can choose cost per inspection or proposal. The reason I'm sharing this is to address the comment specifically that Tertius does not allow you to pick the inspection agency of your choice, because that is simply not true.
Okay, but so I pick, I'm a developer and I pick agency inspector number 5. And my deal with inspector number 5 is I'm going to pay you, I have no idea what the rates are, so I'm making all this up. I'm going to pay you $100 a day, but if it's a holiday, I'll pay you $200. And if it's a re-inspection, I'll pay you $50. Now, there was testimony that that's not possible. And why do you care, you being DCRA?
Yes, Chairman, that is actually possible. That is just another example of misinformed statements.
Well, is it misinformed, or is it, because this is a challenge I have with this hearing, and I don't mean a criticism there, that there was a lot of testimony that DCRA is constantly, daily fixing problems as it becomes aware of them. So the system today, November 30th, is different than the system November 1st. And so I don't know. I mean, somebody testified, either they're lying or it was a problem November 1st. I don't know if it's been fixed.
Chairman, it's never changed, and never is a strong word, and I'm using it on the record, simply because the number of misstatements that I wrote down, if I'm going to go through every single one, this will be the longest hearing. But coming back to your point, yes, we are agile and we can iterate to address any legitimate concern, but it doesn't stop us from showcasing what is actually a functional system. The question about choice of inspection agency is something that is a tradition in the industry, and we've honored that on the marketplace. As you see on your screen, you can choose which inspection agency you want to work out with. You can also work out the terms of the deal, whether it's going to be a monthly based invoicing or it's going to be invoice based of inspection. The platform offers that flexibility. I think over time, as we invest more in one-on-one training, group training, people will realize that they've heard a lot of misinformation, and that would allow us to prioritize the real feedback and adjustments that people want to see. For example,
Mr. Director, I'm going to give you a hard time here. You're a service agency. You provide a service. All right, so there was testimony, at least one of the witnesses, at least one said, it's a fixed fee. Whatever fee I put in is the fee I have to charge, even if I actually want to charge or pay different fees. Either that witness was lying, in which case you have an approved inspector who doesn't mind lying, and that's a problem, or that person doesn't understand what you're saying, in which case, as a service agency, you have a duty to educate, and I'd like to know what you're going to do to reach out to all these witnesses who misspoke and educate them. Or it is a problem and it needs to be fixed, or maybe it was a problem and it got fixed, but you say never, so that last option isn't an option. So let's just assume that they're misunderstanding. What are you going to do in the next week or two to educate these folks?
Chairman, my commitment to you and to everybody who's been part of this conversation is that, first of all, we appreciate the feedback, whether it's real or imagined. It is not a vindictive process at all. We'll continue working with the individuals. More importantly, we have pre-arranged training sessions and technical forums that anybody can join to ask questions. We also have support staff that can answer questions on demand. So if you ask, what am I going to do? My commitment to you is that we will follow up with each and every person that testified today and point them to resources that addresses their concern. Whether it's something as simple as the user guide that I'm showing on my screen that has always been there, that explains how the system works, or whether we can do screen sharing and walk them through specific scenarios on how to use the system. Our commitment is to our customers. And that is something we take a lot of pride in. So we will do the follow-up and ensure that we help the industry transition to a digitized environment.
I'm going to suggest you be a little bit more aggressive in reaching out to them and not just simply contact them and refer them to the guide, but to do more, because every witness but one today testified to there being problems, including the Association for Developers, which of course represents far more than just the 15 witnesses. My time is up. I will have some more questions. Councilmember Nadeau.
Thank you, Chairman. Hi, Director. So my request of you today is to pause this rollout until you can fix all of the things. That was it. You have a response to that?
Thank you for sharing your feedback. I will consider your thoughts, and I will look deeply at the concerns that have been raised and keep an inventory. What have we addressed? What are we going to address in the future? Currently, we have over 1,000 clients in the system. The system is being used to address commercial, residential, and mixed-use projects. Halting the system is going to be absolutely chaotic. And I don't think residents and business owners in the District of Columbia deserve that.
So you just said that you're listening attentively to all the feedback that was provided today, but you also said that it was all factually incorrect.
I was responding specifically to some of the examples that the chairman raised. One being the ability to handle sort of like different types of like pricing arrangements. So I was very targeted to the unique question raised, but I really want to look at the big picture, and that is what we are going to keep doing to help the industry. And in addition to the one-on-one training that is available, group training that is available, we'll continue engaging with the industry. There are several members from today's panel who were part of the listening sessions we held in June and July of this year. They provided feedback, they tested. So we will continue that agility and that process of listening to our customers and adapting the system to their unique needs.
What is the rationale for the 10% processing fee?
The 10% fee is charged to inspection agencies. It is consistent with other fees we have, like the technology fee for business licensing. The fees will support maintenance and upgrades of the system, and also robust oversight of third-party inspection agencies and their programs. So for example, one of the things that we are positioning ourselves to be able to do is to look at early warning signals based off past or failed inspections, the variance between the time it takes to conduct an inspection and the time it should take, having the audit trail of inspection logs, and something which is very important. And I want to take you back to the events that shaped our country forever after 9/11. Whenever money is changing hands, there is a requirement to ensure that shady LLCs or opaque entities are not being used for money laundering. So that is a requirement of the Treasury Department. That is why the platform gives us the added ability to enforce compliance while identifying beneficial owners, which is something that will help the district overall.
I still don't understand how the 10% fee is going to help ensure inspector quality or protect consumers.
Okay, so let's say you have an underpinning inspection that has to be done, and we want to be certain that it happened on the date and it just didn't happen in 2 minutes. Now with the platform, when the inspection goes to the construction site, they'll have to check in with our GPS tracking. and they will have to indicate what they actually inspected. And at the end of inspection, they will have to check out. So if I want to have greater assurance that an inspection actually happened, I now have some basis based of the data in the system and based of follow-up interviews we can do and based of oversight inspections we can do. These are all measures that protects consumers.
I don't understand why tertius is the only way that we can do that. So are you saying that okay, let's take my house, for example, which happens to have an underpinning with holes in it because the third-party inspector didn't do their job. You picked a good one. Perfect example. So if tertius were in place when my house was built, would I be able to just log into Scout and see the records from that inspection, all of them?
What tertius is allowing us to do, using
yes or no?
Scenario you are describing, is to have inspection reports and not have to chase down agencies or inspectors for inspection reports. So
are those going to be available to consumers? Yes or no?
We've made a commitment to make as many records as we can get our hands on electronically available to consumers through our established systems. Scout is one of them, and inspection reports. Yes, these are things that we can enable by having tertius in place.
You could do it now. You don't need tertius.
I would argue the level of quality and robust information that we get that helps protect homeowners through tertius is unparalleled.
I mean, if you actually provide the information, but right now you're just saying you're gonna do it, which puts us in the same situation we were before tertius. I mean, consumers need, okay, you had a newsletter a couple months ago about inspectors and being a home buyer and just being aware of your situation and how to use Scout to look up permits and things like that. Okay, which seems like a good idea. I've been on the housing market recently trying to look up different properties to see, if they were built correctly. You can't see any detail about any of the inspections right now as a member of the public. You have to FOIA them, or you have to find somebody with access to DCRA's system to look them up for you. So it doesn't sound like tertius is solving that problem and helping consumers be more aware when they're buying houses or know what's going on in their own homes or what we're done there. And I don't know why you need a new system to do that anyway. It should be something that's available to the public.
Councilman Nadeau, I think the situation you are describing is mixing a lot of different things all together.
Probably.
So
there's a lot of issues here.
Yes, and I want us to be candid and also be focused on the topic at hand, and that is how does tertius enable more transparency and equip homeowners with information?
Well, more specifically, my question was, how does the 10% processing fee do that? And I still don't know how the processing fee is necessary to do all of that.
I took the time, Councilman Nadeau, to explain what the 10% fee that is assessed to inspection agencies allows us to do, whether it's maintenance and upgrade of the platform, or tighter oversight on third-party inspection processes, or greater accountability into the previously opaque third-party inspection processes. Those are just a few examples.
Okay. Does the 10% fee go into an SPO? Is it in a special revenue, purpose revenue fund?
The inspection report that is completed through tertius is available to the owner instantly. And then it will be deposited into our systems. And to your question about the revenue doesn't go into a special purpose revenue account. It doesn't.
It goes into the general fund?
Yes.
Okay, now I'm really confused. If it goes into the general fund for the DC budget, for the DC Treasury, then how does DCRA have access to it to do all the things you're talking about?
We have a budget formulation process where we identify the needs of the agency and how it would further support the mission we have and the district's overall goals. That is how budgeting works. By being able to demonstrate the value that we bring to the city, whether it's an incremental X amount of dollars or the services that we render, the budget process, I have confidence that a budget process would allow us to get the resources that we need.
Okay, I mean, that's nice. But the reality is if this 10% processing fee is going into the general fund, you may never see it. Because it's not up to you. It's up to the mayor and the council.
Yes, the mayor and the council make those decisions. My job is to focus on our mission and leverage all the tools and resources that I can to deliver on the services that we provide.
Okay. Thank you so much for your testimony, Chairman. Thank you for the time.
And there'll be another round if you want to follow up, Councilmember Nadeau.
Thanks. Unfortunately, I have to leave, but I'm sure the director's not sad about that. And it'll give you more time, Chairman. Thank you.
Well, and I'm going to follow up on some of your questions.
Great.
So, Director, my takeaway is that what Tertius is a new IT platform for better accountability of the third-party inspection process. And that better accountability is primarily that you have an audit trail and a quality audit trail, including, you said, GPS tracking. Am I correct?
That's correct. That's one component of it. Yeah,
I didn't say component. I said that the what Tertius is doing is creating a new IT platform for to create an audit trail, and through that, better accountability of the third-party tracking system.
That is correct. The point I was making is that
irrelevant to that, although it might be nice, is the 10% fee. Whether there's a 10% fee or not, you still, through Tertius, are creating an audit trail. Correct?
No, I would argue they are related, Chairman, because
of course they're related. Of course they're related, but you have the audit trail with or without the fee. There's some other aspects to this that also, they may be related, but they're not integral to the audit trail. For instance, the billing. I mean, you really can have that audit trail if you just require that the third-party inspectors have to be registered through Tertius, and they have to be tracked through Tertius. And all the rest of it isn't integral to that audit trail.
Chairman, if I may.
Yeah, you try.
It is integral. If you set up an account as an inspection agency, there are several steps we take you through, including adding the roster of your inspectors that are certified, your insurance information. If a property owner arranges an inspection with you and the inspection is completed and payment is made, what that allows us to do is to tie real people, beneficial owners, to real projects and real inspections. So the audit trail capabilities is not just about improving accountability, but when you tie payment to a service that is provided, you raise the bar on the robust nature of providing oversight, so that if somebody cheats the system, they've not just violated DCRA regulations and DC law, but they've also committed financial crimes.
I'm not quite getting why that is critical to the audit trail over third-party inspections. I'm not getting why identifying individuals, the people behind the beneficial interests is necessary for the third-party inspections. When the multifamily housing project on Talbot Street is sliding down the hill, we want to know what the third-party inspector did. That's our primary focus, is what did the third-party inspector do in 2015 or 2016? And the rest of it may be interesting, but so I'm not getting that. Useful information, but not critical to this.
And I don't want to comment on Talbot because of our ongoing litigation, but what I would point out is that when you know the natural person that is behind a certain level of activity, you, the regulator or the government, now has access to information to help protect consumers. And
but you can get that information in other ways too.
No, not as efficiently, Chairman, not as efficiently and effectively.
Well, the developer is doing business in the city, they're required to register. Or you don't check that?
Obviously, we do check that, Chairman. That's one step. When you tie it to a transaction that is occurring, it is a very different conversation.
All right, when you tie it to a transaction that's occurring, you then get 15 witnesses from the development community who testify that this is very problematic.
That probably begs the question, what is so wrong about transparency and accountability?
Well, your testimony emphasized an audit trail with regard to third-party inspections. It didn't talk about these other objectives. So let me switch to the 10%. Right now, if I get a permit, large or small property, I get a permit, a building permit, and I need an inspection. I call up DCRA, DCRA does the inspection. I've paid for the building permit. Do I pay for the inspection?
DCRA inspections remain free for those who
Okay.
do it.
All right. Prior to Tertius, so in September, October, August, July, if I decided I wasn't going to call up DCRA for an inspector, I wanted to use a third-party inspector. Of course, I would have to pay the third-party inspector, correct?
Yes.
Do I have to pay DCRA?
No.
Okay, with Tertius, I want a third-party inspector. I have to pay the inspector, correct?
That's correct.
But I now have to pay a 10% fee to DCRA.
No, you don't. The inspection agency, the third-party inspection agency, is the one that we assess the fees to, not the.
Yeah, and I missed the line in the mayor's order that says that the third party cannot then pass that cost on to the consumer. That was sarcastic. Of course, it's going to get passed on. So I'm going to pay that 10% as the customer. And your testimony was that that money is going into the general fund. Will be going into the general fund. That's correct?
The money doesn't go to any of DCRA's special purpose revenue accounts. I'll have to talk to our chief financial officer.
Did we identify, when we adopted the budget for FY22, did we identify where the money was going or what it was paying for?
I'll have to double check, but I know it's not coming to an existing special purpose revenue fund account.
Okay. I don't recall that we earmarked where the money was going or identified where the money, I don't recall that we spent the money. And I'm going to assume you don't recall where we spent the money. So what we're doing though here is we are increasing the cost of building by 10%, 10% of the building permit fee. No, building 10% of the inspection fee.
And maybe this will help. The average cost of an inspection is $300. The 10% platform fee basically comes to about $30. For a project that has cost of several thousands of dollars. Just one day of delay costs a good amount of money. I cannot begin to tell you how many times people contact DCRA needing help with their CFO because they have holding costs, because they've not received information from their inspection agencies. Whenever we are able to accelerate the approval window, that is economic value that is translated directly to the owner.
Well, when I go and hire a third-party inspector, DCRA has a list of approved third-party inspectors, correct?
Yes.
So I hire an inspector off of that list. Now, this is pre-Tertius, so last July. Do I have to get approval from DCRA before I can hire that DCRA-approved inspector?
That's correct. Once you identify the inspection agency you want to work with, there's something called a notice of intent that is submitted to DCRA for DCRA to review and approve. That approval process remains in effect. What we've done is automate that approval process through the Tertius platform. So when you think of Tertius, there are a number of paper-based processes, back office processes that have now been streamlined and automated through the platform.
Well, I think all that's good, but I think DCRA should be approving the third-party inspector off of the third-party inspector approved list in a day anyway, regardless whether you're automated or not. I'm not quite sure why. So you want to know that I'm hiring a third-party inspector. Again, I'm talking about pre-Tertius. You want to know that I'm hiring a third-party inspector, but why does it take any time? Why would it be, where's the discussion in approving my hiring a pre-approved inspector?
There are checks and balances involved in the notice of intent approval process.
Like what?
For example, sometimes a property owner wants to hire another third-party inspection agency because the previous one disapproved something. There are also checks and balances in place to ensure that an inspection is only performed only after prerequisites have been met. So for example, if you do some foundation work, before you can go vertical, there is a wall check. If a wall check is not on file, guess what? No matter the inspection agency that you hire, we are simply not going to approve it. And this is to ensure that we deal with any encroachment that could have happened during the construction. So these are just a few examples about the checks and balances that are in place and why we require approval after you've selected a third-party inspection agency that you want to work with.
Okay, so Tertius, you say Tertius will do that in a day. I'm not quite sure why Tertius will do it in a day. Doesn't have to be a human behind it?
That's some of the benefits of technology. So for example, one of the things that we've built into Tertius is that for every open permit, we've mapped out all the possible inspections that have to be done. So whether it's 50 inspections, 10 inspections, 17, whatever inspections are applicable to a particular permit, the system has mapped it out. That's sort of like technology and algorithms working to streamline things. So when you select a third-party agency and they submit the notice of intent, there are certain checkpoints that we've automated, and that helps accelerate and streamline the process, not just for the inspection agency, but also the customer.
Okay, so this is a better database for keeping track of construction.
Absolutely, Chairman.
Okay, and so when I pull a building permit to put a new roof on, there's something set up in Tertius for that?
Absolutely.
It's set up in Tertius without regard to whether I'm going to have a third-party inspector. Tertius has nothing to do with third-party. Tertius is not focused on third-party. Tertius is focused on building permits.
I want to answer the question directly. Tertius has an algorithm that has mapped permits and their requirements in terms of inspections.
So it's inspection focused.
It's inspection focused, but it's integrated to the permitting system.
Okay, so when I pull a permit, an account will be set up in Tertius.
That's correct. Automatically.
Every permit, every building permit.
That's correct.
Okay, and then Tertius will map when I permits for a roof, it'll map that I need the following inspections, which by the way, will not include a wall check. And when I pull I don't know what I'd call it, new basement permit, then it will map I need to have a wall check and not a roof check. Am I understanding correctly?
That's correct. In the basement example, it would tell you need like roughing, closing, whether it's plumbing, electrical, based on the scope of work, it maps that out entirely. So there's also a benefit to property owners. Now there's no guesswork about the types of inspections that you need or the status of each particular inspection. You don't need an expert to break down the number of inspections that you need. It is coded into the system automatically.
Give me 1 second. So Councilmember Nadeau was asking about, I don't know, we like to throw these words around, transparency, but maybe not that, availability of inspection reports. Tertius is not going to be a system that the public can access. I want to check out my neighbor's building permit inspections and I'll just go online into Tertius and look up my neighbor, correct? It's not for that.
That's correct.
In fact, it's basically an internal system, correct? Internal to DCRA.
And homeowners, Chairman, they can go.
Not if I can't look it up. If I can't look it up, then it's not for the public. There's no, I'm not trying to go anywhere here, except to say that if the public wants to see the inspection reports, they're going to have to ask for them the same way they've always had to ask for them. But the difference is that with Tertius, there's a better chance they'll be available.
That's correct. And let me elaborate why. Previously, we had to scan and digitize inspection reports for them to be available. With Tertius, an electronic record is created that can be dumped into a database and made available. So the time it would take to make an inspection report available in the old days when things were analog compared to now when it's digital shrinks tremendously. So that now when we go into Scout or any of the databases that is integrated with Tertius, you can now see the reports. And these are the things that we know consumers and business owners want to see, and is part of our roadmap. The system will improve over time. People will learn new things, they will give us feedback, and we'll adjust. For example, some of the inspection agencies, after seeing the inspection reports on Tertius, their proposal reports and their dashboard said, instead of giving us tiles of project information, give us that same information in a column structure. And we are working on that. That is a demonstration of our commitment to help people with the change by giving them features that they asked for. Another example that was raised by DCBIA earlier last month, and we responded on how we would address it, but there's not been any further interest from them, was that Tertius doesn't cut paper checks. Okay, if you really want the Tertius platform to give you paper checks, there's a small piece of software that we can implement so that you will receive a check in your email and you can print it out, take it to your bank and deposit it, or take your bank's mobile app, whether it's Bank of America, Wells Fargo, whatever the bank is, scan that check. So the flexibility of the system is really vast, and we will continue working with the industry to address their needs and concerns.
Who's issuing that paper check?
There is a payment processor that is called Stripe that manages all the financial transactions, not DCRA. People don't pay DCRA directly. They pay the inspection agency. The piece of software that would integrate will be—
No, you didn't mean that. They don't pay the inspection agency, they pay Stripe.
They pay Stripe, Stripe pays the inspection agency, not DCRA.
So right now, if I'm Hein, they were one of the witnesses. I can't remember if they're the ones who said this, but so I need a third-party inspector. I put out an RFP, I get 3 bids. I pick one of them, the one I like the best. I make my own fee terms. They go out and they do inspections. They do a lot of inspections because it's a big project. So they're doing months and months and months of inspections, and the payment term is every month. And so every month I, Hein, write a check to ABC inspector, and that's how they get paid. And going forward, theoretically, what they're going to do is they're going to hit a button and say to Tertius, tell Stripe that a check needs to be cut to ABC inspection.
Yes, that's one possibility. Another possibility is that the payment should be deposited in the inspection agency's bank account. Just like people get direct deposits. That's currently available.
Okay, don't assume from where I'm going with these questions, I'm okay with that. But one witness testified, during our company registration into this program, we are asked to provide banking information to process payments. However, when directed to the Stripe program within Tertius, it will not allow you to provide banking information without providing personal Social Security numbers. We are a registered corporation with a federal EIN identification. I want to say true or false, because you said all the testimony was inaccurate, but this is what they said. What's the deal?
Good question, Chairman. And I didn't say everything was false. No, I responded specific to certain comments. The question or the comment that the platform requires a Social Security number is true, and for good reason. Payment processors, merchant banks, whether a Stripe, Square, Wells Fargo, they are required to collect, verify, and maintain information on individuals associated with certain financial transactions. That is just the financial regulations. I
don't know that. When I write a check to, when I write a check to Charapa Development Corporation, I don't need your Social Security number to pay you, $100 for the widget.
That's correct. You don't, but whoever says
my bank doesn't need your Social Security number.
Chairman, financial regulations require certain pieces of information about beneficial owners. Nobody needs your Social Security number for you to write a check. However, if you'll be collecting money, there is a certain piece of information that is required to ensure that you are not cooking up some scheme to hide terrorist financing, money laundering, tax evasion, and other crimes.
You're going to need to substantiate that in writing after this hearing, because I'm having a hard time believing that. This is a service. And when I'm trying to think, I'm not allowed to have a business, so I have to go back in time and remember if I've worked for companies that collect money, and we didn't get Social Security numbers from the people who are paying us. Years and years and years ago, decades ago, I worked for a trade association, had a convention. They charged a registration fee. Companies paid $1,000, $3,000. I can't remember what the registration fee was. We didn't require a social security number from anybody. And I think that's true today. Why do you require, and a social security number from a company? The company is the one who's paying the third-party inspector.
And Chairman, I want to make sure you understood what I said.
I don't.
The person who is writing the check is not required to provide social security number and tax ID. No, it's not. So in this context of the platform Tertius, the property owner is not required to provide that information. No, this is a requirement for the inspection service providers who receive money, because ultimately, once I believe the threshold now is 600, it could trigger 1099 form. So there are financial regulations that you have to comply.
That's not your business. You have
and I'm not doing it. It's not me. It's the payment processing engine called Stripe, which is used by millions.
Who's doing it on your behalf?
Yes, Chairman. So it is not a new thing. It's simply because it's part of the platform, people are making derivative conclusions that this has come to DCRA. DCRA doesn't even see that information. It's encrypted.
I'm with the development community. I'm not getting why this is necessary. I don't know what these third-party inspection fees are, but in terms of the dollar amount, but at least for some projects, I assume that they're less than $10,000 and they're probably less than $1,000. But even if they're more than $10,000, I don't think the IRS requires a social security number. They require a report from the bank. You need to substantiate this, that why this is necessary. And if I was a businessman, I would be furious at having to provide individual social security number for a business transaction.
Chairman, it's for the beneficial owner associated with the company.
I've made my point.
Got you.
If I am a businessman, I will be offended if I have to provide my social security number for a business transaction. I have a tax identification number. That's the number you're entitled to. Let me see. So there was this. The billing system limits choices of rates we charge for different services, such as re-inspections, overtime, and holidays. True or false?
Chairman, I didn't hear the last part. You said
the billing system limits choices. The billing system limits the choices of rates we charge for different services, such as re-inspections, overtime, and holidays.
No, that's not accurate. I'll have my staff reach out to the person to understand their unique circumstance, because at the end of the day, however the inspection agency wants to charge, there's flexibility. They can do cost per inspection or an RFP. An RFP is where you put all this additional criteria. I'm going to charge you every time I show up or every time that you call me on the phone. Those variables can be accommodated. So I would rather understand deeply what the commenter was saying, but generally the platform supports different types of fee structures.
There was this testimony. Third, the software's infancy and lack of testing has created untenable workloads and subsequent major delays for citizens, clients, and stakeholders. Actually, that wasn't the point I wanted to ask. Fourth, the accounting and financial component of Tertius was not designed with basic accounting principles in mind and has created an enormous hurdle for any small or large business to navigate. I asked the witness about this. They gave the example of 0 billings and then having all these lines in their accounting for 0. That was an example of what this meant. The accounting and financial component was not designed with basic accounting principles in mind and has created an enormous hurdle.
And I think that is a misunderstanding of the platform, quite frankly. The platform doesn't replace accounting systems like QuickBooks that people have to manage their accounts receivables across different product lines. That's not our business. We are not involved in that. The Tertius platform allows inspection agencies to export their own data in a format that is called CSV, which basically any Excel spreadsheet can open. So I would have my staff reach out to the person who raised that comment so that we can work with them to understand how the platform actually supports their needs. The zero cost inspection is a flexibility we introduced to allow for canceled inspections at no cost. So if you have to cancel an inspection for whatever reason, we want to have a record of that canceled inspection. So we allow the system to accept zero as the amount to cancel.
Yeah, and that in turn created a consequence that leads to what one witness said was an accounting burden. I mean, there are other ways of designing the system. Like, for instance, you don't have to make filling the amount in mandatory, right? You have to put in a zero because it requires an amount. If you didn't require an amount,
it takes 1 second to press the zero key. And once you export this into Microsoft Excel, you can set a filter. Chairman, this is not really a big deal.
Well, there was a witness who took time out of their day, and they seem to be joined by a number of other witnesses. So this was another comment. The workflow is constrained by design parameters that inherently limit the functionality of the software and make it nearly impossible to perform basic tasks, such as rescheduling or editing the scope of an inspection. When I pressed on that, the witness gave the example of if you have to reschedule, then you have to, I guess, cancel the entry and then start a new entry.
I'll share my screen. So you just see how easy it is to cancel. I mean, on my screen, you see that button?
Okay, but what happens when you press the button? Then you have to start a new entry, right?
The information is pre-populated, Chairman. You put in, and let me show you an example. You put in a permit number, and then you click continue, and it identifies the address, the permit number, the customer, the project terms, the type of permit, the inspection types. We went through this in less than 3 seconds. So I hear the overall sentiment. People have some ideas. People think the system should work a certain way. This is all welcome. We will engage deeply with our customers and our stakeholders. And then based on their input, we will iterate. This is the process that we followed earlier on. And it's a process that we'll be following as it deals with special inspections.
So what do you mean by, what does deeply mean when you say we will engage deeply?
You have, for example, a question about how to cancel an inspection on the platform. We will spend the time using screen sharing to take you through it. We would also do sort of like train the trainers, because what we've realized is that there are people within organizations who handle semi-administrative functions. For example, Hoffman is one, where they have somebody that we trained to handle Tertius on the organization's behalf. That level of engagement is something that we are committed to, because sometimes somebody will not be comfortable being in a group session to talk about areas they are having a challenge. We would make sure we connect with them on a one-on-one basis and address their concerns that are appropriate.
So the 20, 30 third-party inspectors, you will have appointments with each of them to go over them,
Chairman, the short answer is yes. We've done that before. We are offering on Fridays weekly sessions for them to come get technical questions addressed. We've shaped the schedule so that something's available in the morning and in the afternoon, so it's convenient. These are just examples of our commitment to helping people manage their transition, and that's not going to change.
Well, you know, again, we just had a hearing with 14 witnesses who testified that they have problems. So 14 people missed the training, and one of them was a trade association. So they
And
represent.
actually, Chairman, there's one person that I recall, they never taken advantage of any of the training sessions. And I'm saving the name, and I can give that to you privately. Yet they testified about how the system doesn't work.
So then there was this statement. My client, so this was, I believe, a third-party inspector. My client began a process to accept and schedule an electrical inspection. They were given an error message regarding inspections. They attempted throughout the next 2 days, next 3 days. Let me see, our office staff submitted to DCRA management an email, phone calls, and messages within the Tertius program, as well as the DCRA KRM system. We received no response. Eventually, they reached a DCRA IT employee, like 3 days later. The client expressed that this process and the lack of communication with anyone at DCRA was costing them valuable time and delaying the project.
I'm not aware of that particular issue. At the same time, we have at least 3 people during normal business hours to support anybody that has a question about the platform. And we also respond to inquiries of business hours. So for that particular person, if the service they received was not what they expected, I'm sorry they had to deal with that, but that's something that I would like to get additional information to see how we can help our customers. Customer service and overall customer experience is something that we take great pride in, given the strides we've made to ensure that people get timely responses within the service level that we commit to. Most of the inquiries we've received have been user error. There's FAQs that helps people self-serve. There is a user guide that I just showed you. But this is all part of like change management. So do expect, Chairman, that we would dive deeper into the issues and also maintain our posture of responding to questions, keep a collaborative approach, and work with the industry to get to a place where everybody is comfortable.
Well, we'll see if the witness follows up with you on that, but they did testify about that. So DCBIA was concerned. Tertius is the exclusive platform for third-party inspections, but will it also be the exclusive platform for third-party plan review?
No, we've clarified our position on third-party plan review. The Tertius platform is going to be focused on construction inspections, regulatory inspections, and special inspections.
And not plan review?
Not at this time.
Okay, I was going to ask the question, you just answered it, but I'll ask it again. It will be Tertius, will be or is exclusive platform for special inspections?
That's correct, Chairman. So that I remain factual, especially since others may be listening so they can understand what is actually happening. Today, today as we speak. When a special inspector goes to a construction site, they are required to check in and out of the platform so that we can enhance our early warning signs for safety issues. That is in place. Processing transactions associated with special inspections is in the works, and we'll continue our dialogue with the industry to shape the requirements and to ensure a successful transition.
In your testimony, you've stated that with Tertius, DCRA is improving competition and empowering customers. Why is this an issue for DCRA when it comes to businesses, particularly commercial and multifamily developers?
Why is it an issue for DCRA to empower customers when it comes to commercial and mixed use?
Multifamily developers. Let them compete and take their risks in the marketplace. Why should DCRA be concerned with increasing competition and empowering developers?
Because the people who provide the service to the commercial property owners are the same ones who provide a service to homeowners. So by having a central place where you can see the various inspection agencies, that openness facilitates competition. More importantly, when inspection agencies don't perform well, or inspection agencies receive sanctions, or inspection agencies get bad reviews, that information will be available for people to make informed decisions. At the end of the day, the inspection agencies are approved by DCRA to perform a certain function. So we have a direct interest in ensuring that the marketplace is robust, there is competition, and there is a level playing field.
Who or how was this platform, Tertius, developed? Was this a capital project?
Yes.
And who had the contract?
It's a company, it's a local company that has the contract. The name escapes my mind. I believe initially it was, I think, 250, but let me just be certain, and then I can give you that information. I don't want to speak out of.
So it was under $1 million.
Yes.
And at this point, is the platform fully developed other than working out some kinks?
The core functionality of the platform is there. What we are focused on now is additional enhancements that people are looking for. The example I gave you is that people want to see a report of upcoming inspections, not organized in terms of tiles, but more in terms of like more columns of a tabular format. So that's just one example. I don't have the list of all the bells and whistles that our customers have asked for, but our approach has been, what else do people want to see? And let's vet those feature requests and put that on our product roadmap.
So basically the contract is done, or the contract includes ongoing maintenance?
It includes ongoing maintenance.
And roughly what are the ongoing maintenance costs?
Chairman, I don't have that information handy.
All right, so you'll provide it. if an inspection company is not paid, who do they reach out to? Do they reach out to DCRA, or do they reach out to the developer, or do they reach out to, do they call Stripe?
They reach out to the same intermediaries that they would have reached out without Tertius. So if somebody performs a service and the check, I'm making this up, the check bounces, the financial institutions involved take some actions. That process remains the same. If somebody has questions about payment or a transaction related to the account, they reach out to Stripe.
I'm a little confused here. So I'm the developer, Mendelson Development Company, and I hire you, the third-party inspector, Charapa Inspections. And I go to the DCRA website and I type in that you're the person I selected and I'm going to pay you $1,000 a day. And I guess then I have to pay $1,000 to Stripe. They charge me. Of course, I can pay them a check if that change is made. So Stripe now's got, I don't know, $15,000 from me. And you don't get paid. You call me a month from now and you say, hey, Mendelson, I didn't get paid. What am I doing? What do I do?
Oh, we can look at the Tertius platform to see if the transaction.
So I have to call you. I have to call DCRA.
You don't have to. I'm explaining sort of like how the process could work. I mean, you ultimately have to call Stripe, but you can also call DCRA and say, I didn't get paid. We can check to see if the transaction went through. At least we have a record of it because the customer releases payment. And then if we confirm that, we arm the inspection agency with information where they can call Stripe and say, what happened here? They can also call the inspection agency and say, hey, I paid you, what happened here? So the reason I'm showing different entities and their role is simply to illustrate the fact that there are channels for people to get payment issues addressed.
I have to say, I don't find that very satisfactory. So, you know, right now, I have a relationship in this example with you, and I write you a check. And when you don't get paid, you call me up and I say, what the hell's going on? Blaine, why didn't you write the check? And it was just a little dig I had to throw. And at least you know where to go and I know where to go, and maybe we get this worked out. But I don't think I like this because I call DCRA, but it's not DCRA, it's Stripe, and I call Stripe. And
the tools
it's
we
all
have,
messed up.
Chairman, I disagree. You can call Stripe, but DCRA is saying we're also willing to help because the inspection agency can log into their account and see if they've been paid or not. There's a list of like payments, invoices that you can see as an inspection agency when you log into your account. So there's transparency there. And if that doesn't, for some odd reason, satisfy the inspection agency, they can say, hey, DCRA, can you help me? Of course, we would help. But it doesn't mean that we are the ones who are resolving their payment issue. They deal with the payment processor. It's just another level of support that we are providing, which we don't have to, but we see that it's important for people to cope with the change.
I'm out of questions. So there are a couple of things you're going to get back to me on. I trust your staff took notes on what they are. I have to say that there was a part of this question and answer with you where you identified a number of good accountability benefits from the system in terms of having better records on third-party inspections. But I think the 10% fee is problematic. It's a new cost, an additional cost on businesses in a context when we've been talking about trying to lower costs on businesses. The both you and the mayor boasting about how fees were cut with the FY22 budget. And I also think that trying to be involved in the payment process is a mistake. So I think this is where I'm going to leave it for the moment. I'm hopeful that industry representatives have been listening to this part of the hearing, and I'm sure they have some views and some feedback. I'm hopeful that DCRA is going to be very aggressive about deeply reaching out to and working with the third-party inspectors and the building permit, the big building permit users, and educating them so that the kinks are getting worked out. I'm skeptical that most of the problems, complaints that we're hearing about tied to the payment, you're being involved with these payments. I'm skeptical that that's going to get worked out, but we'll see. We will probably have a performance oversight hearing in January, or if not February. And if there's still complaints about this, well, I'm not going to make any promises, but I think that the payment side of this is a side that DCRA ought not to be in, because I'm skeptical that you're going to be able to handle it right. So there are kinks to be worked out. There's education to be done. There's this whole payment process. I think those are the takeaways from otherwise an effort at improving accountability with third-party inspections. Let me just check with staff. Thank you, Director.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you for the opportunity to address some of the issues that have been raised, and also for your recognition of the accountability that the platform brings. We'll follow up on the action items that's promised and keep you informed. Thank you.
Thank you. So this is going to conclude this hearing. This has been an oversight hearing, a roundtable by the Committee of the Whole on the issue of implementation of DCRA's third-party inspection platform, otherwise known as Tertius. The record will remain open until 5 p.m. on Tuesday, December 7th, 2021. The time is now 4:24 in the afternoon.